Oh my. My face. Welcome in, guys. Welcome back if you're returning from last stream. We are now playing Our Lives Beginnings and Always. I'm trying to finish up Derek's DLC. We can skip this because he's not in it. Oh, no, why would you do that? There you go. There you go. Yes. It was just the third step. We will be doing step 3, not all of step 3. I don't think we do all of step 3, but majority of step 3 when we do Baxter's route. It's gonna be a lot. I mean, we did a lot of step 2 as well, so when we did Dexter's, I keep mixing Derek and Baxter's name together, and it's pissing me off. Is it pissing you off like it's pissing me off? I hope it isn't, but here we are. Why would you do this? Oh, thank you, stop. Months. Let me take a breath. Let me calm down. Moths bounced against your window, attracted by the light of your room, a siren call in the slowing darkening sky. Just as the day was coming to an end, so too would summer. This is like loud in my ears. I need you to not be. Thank you. Liz would be moving back into the dorms before long. Luckily, Lee had been able to come stay for a short trip before her own journey began. She had officially been accepted to her first choice college a few weeks ago. This was her last chance to see you all in person for... I feel like I missed something. This was her last chance to see you all in person for what? Okay, laundry. You flicked through the plans for the next few months, realizing that you didn't even know when you'd next have the opportunity for everyone to be in the same place again. It was hard to think that you'd only be seeing even less of your cousin going forward, but you were delighted that she was pursuing her dreams. While you were still with each other, your family was going to have dinner together. As ever, the Holdens were tagging along too. Well, we had Chinese before. Let's try the tropical place this time. Even though I love Chinese. You hadn't really discovered the tropical restaurant until you were a bit older, but everyone's enthusiasm had resulted in so many visits that you'd been more than made up for the lost time. Was it a good idea to read a visual novel while I'm dying? Probably not, but I digress. Liz and Lee were excited to squeeze in another trip before setting off again. Technically, you were getting ready to go out, though your mind was only half on the task. It was a pleasantly warm evening, the kind that epitomized the vacation feeling, and you were in no mood to spoil it by rushing around. While idly gazing at your room, you spotted a small cluster of unopened envelopes that must have been left for you by a parent earlier. You headed over to the table to flick through for anything of interest. As a child, any correspondence felt exciting due to its rarity. It really did. I used to love getting mail, and now I hate it. You recognize now that most of it was mundane, but you were checking any mail you got more frequently of late. There was something you were expecting. You stopped at a crisp white envelope. The logo proudly proclaimed the sender, a school you'd applied to. I took a deep breath and I read it. This next step would take nerve. You closed your eyes as you breathed deep, the air slipping through your lips as you opened your eyes once more. I don't remember what happened when I got the acceptance letter to the college that I wanted to go to. Was I happy? I mean, I guess I was. I think I was more just like, okay, that was a lot of stress. Now that's over with. Then there was more stress. Also, apology. Jax is here, so if you hear Jax noises, Jax. Also, I'm doing laundry, so if you hear laundry noises, laundry. You pulled apart the glued flap on the front of the envelope and extracted the letter. Your eyes darted over the message, rushing past the pleasantries to get to the heart of the matter. The blood pounding in your ears deafened you to the world outside that was contained within these letters. Your heart skedaddled. Your heart skidded to a halt as you read your verdict, not skedaddled. You've been accepted. I'm relieved. The tension flooded out of your body with such intensity that you needed to slump against the wall for support. You had to tell your family right away. You had to make an announcement at dinner. You want to keep this news to yourself for now. You want Code to be the first to know. I'm making the announcement at dinner. I'm being dramatic as fuck. You tried your best to finish getting yourself ready for the dinner ahead. It was a strain. Been your mind had only half been on the task before. Now with the news fresh in your mind, it was a struggle to concentrate on anything else. You kept having to recall your thoughts away from the future and back to the present. Time was against you. Mom soon called from downstairs that it was time to go. You had to check the time, sure that you had 10 or at least 5 minutes left. You were wrong. You tore down the stairs, attempting to juggle your composure among the hurry and excitement. Your moms, who turned to greet you as you arrived, swapped silent, knowing looks. They couldn't possibly have figured out what happened, or so you hoped. As your moms, they were pretty good at telling things without being told. You watched them, hunting for any further signs that they were on the case, but none came. For now, it didn't seem like they knew what was happening. Not exactly, at least, but things were definitely happening, and even if they didn't know for sure what you were cooking up, they could smell something in the air. Everyone piled into the car. While it was marketed as being suitable to hold 5 people, in practice, it made it very tight fit. Your mom sitting in the front were fine. You, Liz, and Lee were squished into the back, Lee in the middle, wedged between you and your sister. I have a feeling we're not going to be finishing Derek's DLC, because I forgot how long this fucking takes. It takes like 2 fucking hours to read through like the little beginning and end shits. But Mom was an excellent timekeeper. Thanks to her efforts, she pulled up near the restaurant on time. The process of getting out of the car was slightly easier than squeezing into it, with much less coordination required to release seatbelts than to secure them. You gave Lee a hand as she clambered out from the middle seat, then headed to the building as a group. A waiter greeted you as you entered. Ma let him know how many of you were there in total, and he went to arrange a table that met your needs. He returned promptly to guide you to your seats. You perched comfortably in your chair, your head held aloft as if buoyed by today's good fortune. Your family settled down around you, all cheerful and looking forward to the evening ahead. Your drinks ordered had just been taken when the Holdens came through the door. They were pointed in your direction, though with Mom waving an arm in the air, it was hardly necessary. Cove and Mr. Holden came to join you at the table, as greetings were being exchanged. Cove took a seat opposite to you. It had been left empty by unspoken acknowledgement that you and Cove would be wanting to sit together. Mr. Holden sat beside him. It's great to see you. I'm glad you could make it. I was going to say Mr. Holden. Let me read it. Hello, everyone. You wouldn't believe how hungry I am. You came to the right place, then. There was some laughter, though Liz groaned playfully, shaking her head at Mom's sense of humor. Growing up, she'd have complained, and Mom would have responded by making another comment. Liz had mellowed over the years, but she still made a show of despairing at Mom's jokes. Her reaction to them had become a joke in its own right. Menus were soon passed around, and the temporary hush fell over the table as everyone read. It didn't last long, punctured by comments about what people had eaten here before, and light chatter about what people were considering tonight. Once the waiter had disappeared with your orders, Cliff piped up. So, I've had some good news. Kyrie's making a trip out here tomorrow. Cove nodded, turning from his father to the rest of the table. Yeah, we talked about it and figured this was a good time for everyone. That's great. Everyone reacted positively to the news, though Ma looked wistful. If only we'd known. Here we are, having a big meal without her. If we'd waited one day, she could have joined us. Mom patted Ma on the back, gently nudging her from the realm of possibilities of what-ifs, and back to the evening that was going so well. Chin up. Lee and Liz will still be here tomorrow. We'll just have to throw another get-together and keep the fun train chugging along. What a mistake this was, but we're gonna keep chugging. Ma smiled warmly, taking Mom's hand in hers. That's true. There's plenty to celebrate right now, but there will be more good news and good times on the horizon. Right, speaking of, that's not all we've got either. Mr. Holden's eyes were alight as he sat up straight in his chair, face angled towards his son. He barely let the beat go by before nudging Cove with his elbow, pushing him to follow up on the announcement. He was the very picture of a proud papa. Cove shied from the limelight, ducking his head down, staring at his lap as he spoke. Well, it's just, I've switched over to working full-time instead of only part-time. Plus, I've been looking at apartments. There's a few I can choose from. He flicked his gaze up at everyone around the table, a smile creeping over his face. I'll be pretty busy going forward. Apartments. He was moving. Cove was going to move out of his dad's house. After 10 years, he wasn't going to be your neighbor anymore. Mr. Holden gripped one of Cove's shoulders and gave it a loving shake. His excitement couldn't be contained. Incredible! Cove's actually going to make it into adulthood. It's a miracle. Mr. Holden leaned back in his chair, staring up at the ceiling in mock wonder. I wasn't convinced I'd be able to rear a kid all the way to this point, but thankfully I lucked out and got the best boy a dad could have asked for. Dad. Cove blinkered. What a word. His vision into his hands on the side of his face, temporarily blocking his father from sight. Despite his genuine bashfulness, which left him unable to meet anyone's eyes after all the attention thrust his way, he was happy. Thanks. I was really lucky too. You're a good dad. Aw, come here. Mr. Holden threw an arm around Cove's neck, pulling him into as close of a hug as the seating allowed. He rubbed his cheek on the top of his son's head while Cove chuckled, accepting the affection with good humor. You tapped on your glass with a fork, something that you'd seen done in movies when people wanted attention. It didn't quite make the same noise, possibly because your glass was a tumbler and not a champagne flute, but everyone looked in your direction anyway. I've got something to announce too. Of course. Lay it on us. I got my acceptance letter today. I'll be going to college soon. Nice, Kingsley. That's wonderful, sweetie. I must have been on the wait list. Because usually you get your acceptance letters pretty early. Usually you get them, like, around the end of senior year and not in the summer. So I must have been waitlisted. That's wonderful, sweetie. Ma roped you into a hug, her arms quicker than any lasso. You were thankful you were sat next to her. If not, you didn't doubt that she would have dived over the table to reach you in her excitement. Hey, let me in on the hug. Your moms pincered you in a hug, leaning from their chairs to squeeze you in tandem. Liz beamed at you from across the table. Good job, Kingsley. Leadin heard her excitement, clapping her hands in open delight. That's amazing. You're gonna be amazing. If only my nose wasn't stuffed. I could be even more amazing. Mr. Holden gave you a thumbs up. A natural Jeremy voice right here. Impressive. You're a good kid. The world's your oyster. Cove grinned at you from across the table. That's amazing. It's incredible. You did it. Congratulations, Kingsley. Thanks. No, seriously, this is really, really big, and you deserve it so much. You looked around at the faces of the company there. You'd been on this journey with everyone here for years, seen them falter and grow, and they have watched you go through the same. Now you were striking out on a new path. Cove was leaving his family home, Liz was heading back to college, while Lee was starting at hers. You were all heading in different directions, to different destinations, some near and some far, but it wouldn't be long until you were all going your own way. Your heart swelled with pride for everyone. It was bittersweet. The thought troubled you. It was bittersweet. You turned your head to the side, wistful, not wanting to spoil the evening with your troubles. You were glad that everyone was succeeding, but the idea of splitting up gave you a twinge of regret. These people had been key pillars in your life. Days ahead without them, no matter how bright and shiny, felt a little empty, like a theme park after closing time. But you focused your mind on the sweet side. New adventures were still ahead, and you could encourage the optimism. Cove brought some attention to himself with the clearing of his throat and a small interjection. I'm gonna stretch my legs while we're still waiting for the food and everything. Sure thing, bud. With a tiny smile, he nodded at his dad, but the lightness of his expression faded when he moved to face you. Wanna come? He was attempting to be subtle, but there was very obviously something on his mind, something he wanted to talk to you about all alone. You watched him with concern as you rose from your seat. Yeah, I'll go. Take care. With those parting words, the two of you walked about the place. He was trying to get as far away from everyone else as possible without actually exiting the building. What did you need to say? He hadn't admitted oh my god, he hadn't admitted that was what this was about, but he didn't need to. Cole started pulling on the hem of his shirt. He turned his head back to face you, but it was an awkward moment. Well, I want to talk to you one-on-one about all this. You know, my work, movie. I mean, it was coming before, but now it's pretty much here. Yeah, it's exciting. Cove stopped picking at his shirt, and he seemed to respond well to that response. He was relieved you weren't upset about it. Why would I be upset about it? I'm glad you think so. But then he looked down and his brows furrowed. You saw his hand shift away from his clothes to instead rub at his arm. Are you looking forward to it? I am. Well, I'm trying to be. He ducked his head further and you saw his face start to redden. But it's scary. I don't want things to end. Well, you're going to worry, going to do great things. So you're saying you're going to dress up as the future for Halloween? What a lame response. We're going to do great things. You're so nice to me. That's what besties are for. Cove then turned his head away and wrapped his arms around himself. He felt a sudden chill that definitely wasn't caused by the air conditioner. I was just thinking, are we really going to stay friends? His words came out hesitantly. He didn't want to ask this. He didn't want to know. I'm not just talking about today, but forever. Always. Even if things change later, right now, do you feel we can make it? Or do you think we can't last? That one day we'll have to move on? Well, logically, some friendships just don't last. I want to keep calm. I'm gonna keep calm. You understood his concern. It was definitely hard to imagine what would happen. However, you didn't let yourself get upset. I mean, if we both keep trying to make the friendship work, then I don't see why we couldn't stay friends forever. Unless, one of us dies early. I don't know, but it's gonna be alright. You couldn't know the future, so you didn't have any definite answers. That being said, you still believed you'd make it through somehow. You had to. Cove laughed with a delicate smile on his face. Okay, you win. I wanted to prepare myself for the horrifying unknown, but you're kind of giving me no choice but to be optimistic here. His eyes sparkled with mischief. Strong armor. That's right. Oh no, I can't believe you're being forced to have hope about life. Oh, okay, this is kind of cute. Happy to hear that. You're welcome, you snickered. No, I'm happy to hear that. His lips twitched up at your consideration. Thanks for listening to me, Kingsley. It helped. He felt pleased that his anxiety had eased after talking it out. I think it's time to rejoin the party. Do you feel like heading back? Oh, yeah. I forgot what we were doing here. Probably be good. With matching smiles, you both reclaimed your seats at the table. Both of you felt lighter and it showed. You seem happy. What was that? Oh, sorry, wrong voice. You seem happy. What was that? Yeah, it looked like you were having quite the conversation over there. It's neighbor stuff. Sorry. I used to be your neighbor. He waved off their questions and you didn't offer any explanations. You seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted it to stay between the two of you and let it drop. Give me a second. I'm hoping that helped. I tried to blow my nose. I'm hoping that helped. He waved off their questions and didn't offer any explanations. They still seemed curious, but caught that Cove wanted it to stay between the two of you and let it drop. Things relaxed and you took a sip of your drink. Lee idly tapped the table and got your attention. I'm so excited to try this place. I'm not sure if I've ever really eaten here. It's more Kingsley's place than mine. Let's hope it's good. All the restaurants in the area are pretty top-notch in my humble opinion. We'll see. It was a challenge issued. Liz carried herself like some sort of professional food critic and Mom snorted. Tough crowd, jeez, Liz. Ma giggled and chimed in as well, much to Liz's embarrassment. That's right, Lizzie, jeez. Oh, jeez Louise. You shook your head at the silliness. I'm shaking my head. I would join in, but let's not tease Liz. She's having a moment. Why was your family like this? Jeez. Everyone burst out laughing besides Liz, of course. She smirked. No one could ever accuse your family of being no fun. Night fell soon after everyone finished their meals, and before you knew it, you were standing in the parking lot, saying your goodbyes and packing up the cars to go home. After the last of the chores were done, your family spent some more time together. The rest of the night felt like it was going to be going by in the blink of an eye, and somehow the time came to retire to your room to sleep. You pulled your covers up under your chin and settled down for the night, getting warm and cozy. As your head sank into your pillow and you closed your eyes, your mind drifted back to everything that had happened that day. You could see it all now behind your eyelids as though you were experiencing it all over again. And then the image of Cove popped into your head and you smiled softly to yourself. You decided to send him a text. You decided to text him to come over. You wanted to sneak out to his room. You're feeling tired, so you snuggled deep into your bed. But I'll send him a text to chat. Taking your phone from your bedside table, you lay on your back and held it above your face, typing out a message to Cove. This is a wake-up call. Are you up? It's a booty call. He didn't reply, and you let out a defeated sigh as you locked your phone screen and let your arms fall back down. He must have fallen asleep. Suddenly your phone buzzed in your hand and you scrambled to check the message that had just come through. It was Cove. Yeah, what's going on? Just send him an emoticon. What are you doing? You watched the little dots on your screen as he typed before his next message popped up on your screen. I'm just heading to bed. Good night. Can you keep texting me good night? Good night. You tapped out your reply before setting your phone down on the bedside table again and plugging in the charger. Cocooning your blankets around yourself, you snuggled into your bed and soon found yourself drifting off into the deep, restful sleep. Next morning, you woke slowly from the comfortable dream, finding yourself safe and warm and tucked up in the bed. With a small stretch, you opened your eyes to the sun shining in through the window. The only reason I'm not doing so much Cove stuff is because I'm trying to get through this Derek DLC. This is not Cove's turn. After waking up a little more and getting ready, you headed downstairs to find your family all gathered around the kitchen area. Good morning. You greeted them all, receiving a chorus of good mornings and back in return. You nodded in acknowledgement as you headed into the kitchen to find some breakfast. A knock at the front door caught your attention and curiosity pulled you to follow several steps behind Mom as she went to answer it. Cove was waiting there with both of his parents. Morning. Hi there. Surprised at that sight, Mom paused a moment and then she pulled Kyra into a big hug. Meanwhile, you approached the doorway and flashed a small smile at Cove. Kyra, it's been too long. I know, time's been flying. Kyra's gaze slid over to you. She waved. Hi there, Kingsley. Hi, it took you long enough to come back here. You smiled. Right? I should have gotten myself in town long ago. Kyra's gaze fell on Cove, and you could see it growing more affectionate. Her smile widened. I'm really happy to be visiting my baby. Enough of standing out there. Come on in. Mom moved aside to usher the group in, guided them to the living room. Before anyone could get settled in, Mom spoke up. You're all welcome to stay for breakfast. Yeah, we'd be thrilled to host you. There were eager nods from Mr. Holden and Kyra, but Cove looked around the room filled with familiar faces before speaking up. Maybe instead of staying here, why don't we go to the beach? A scenic picnic, eh? Mr. Holden crossed his arms and contemplated the idea happily, excited. Kyra clapped her hands together. Oh, we could really make a day out of it. Might as well enjoy the ocean while we can. That sounds lovely, Cove. Everyone else put in their own agreement with Cove's suggestion. Before long, both families dispersed, getting everything ready. Where's Derek? Sandwiches had to be made, water, sunscreen, towels, and more needed to be gathered and packed. An hour later, both your families and Coves were walking down the old path to the beach. The morning was already turning to a bright and beautiful day. You honestly couldn't ask for better weather for a beach trip. The moment you laid your eyes on the full view of the ocean, you stopped and stood there mesmerized. It didn't matter that you grew up there. The sight always filled you with wonder. Hey, Kingsley? I was thinking about calling Terry and Miranda. See if they can come too. Everyone else is pretty much already here. So, would your family mind? Wow, you had a good idea. He chuckled, his mouth pulled into a bent smile. It had to happen sometime, even with Clifford's surprise Holden raising me. That had you laughing this time. You were already eager for your friends to join you there. Hey, Mom. They both stopped what they were doing and turned towards you. Immediately, you darted over to them. I have a question. Would it be alright if Terry and Miranda came by? I don't see why not. Actually, do you guys mind if I skip this?
Okay.
It was Derek. Okay, wait, hold on. Go back. Thanks. The lighting you nodded and turned on your heels. I was like, this is. I'm not getting any Derek here. I don't know if Derek will show up. Cove was still several feet away from Lee and Liz, likely about the same topic. With a beaming smile, you gave him a thumbs up, and the two of them must have also approved, as Cove quickly got his phone out and started making the calls. At that, you turned your attention to helping with the picnic setup. Unexpectedly, your phone started vibrating. You dug it out, curious to see the caller ID. Feeling your heart jump with excitement, you answered the video call request. It was Derek! Hey, this is a surprise. I thought you disappeared. Look at him! He's so cute. Nope, I have not. And I hope it's at least a good surprise. A very good one. He chuckled at that, and your smile widened. So, what's up? Did he look like this before? I don't remember him looking like this before in the last one. The voice that came through, I feel like they should have made him have like a deeper brown color. I always find it weird when like skin colors like match the complexion color. It feels too samey, like they're like, I don't know how to describe it. But like The Simpsons, that's kind of what it feels like to me. The voice that came through was much deeper than it had been when you first met, but it still had the same amount of enthusiasm of a kid. Have you been enjoying these crazy summer days? Yeah, I have. It's been amazing. It's been ups and downs. It's been memorable, to say the least. I would have enjoyed them more if you'd been there. He sighed deeply into the phone. He frowned, trying to imagine how this summer would have gone if things were different with him. What do you mean different with him? I told this man I loved him. Sorry, but if it helps, I was thinking the exact same thing about you. Distance sucks, huh? Yeah. But what about you? How's your summer been? You were beyond curious to know what Derek had been up to since the last time you spoke. He chuckled, noticing your invested tone. Honestly, I've just been slammed with stuff lately. College applications and scholarship inquiries. What else is new? What else is new? Well, I bet you're even more toned now. You flirted. Oh, I can flirt. Your real struggle will be choosing which place to go. They'll be desperate to have you. I wish you nothing but good luck. Let's flirt. Let's flirt. Why not? Faintly, you heard a slight hitch in his breathing. You smirked. You're right about that one. I hope you can see it in person sometime. Ooh. He spoke so softly, it was like he was whispering it to you. There was no stopping the grin that grew on your face. He could only hope no one asked what was so interesting. I hope so too. Oh, hey, I finally got the chance to say this. I met that boy again, the dancer from the Cyprus summer soiree. Huh? Wait, hold on. I need a second for my brain to catch up. That was fair. The human mind only had so much processing power, and that revelation was an overload. You waited patiently in semi-silence. Some muffled mumbles. Wow. Breathing is hard. You waited patiently in semi-silence. Some muffled mumbles came over the speaker, as well as a scratchy interference that you suspected was Derek actually scratching his ear near the phone. We're getting some interference over here too with this loud-ass washing machine. Alright, so I'm breaking this down. There was that time you took me to this country club when we were barely teenagers. Yes, what do you mean barely? We were teenagers. And I asked you to show me around and we went on a walk? Yeah. Then we ended up in a totally different part of the whole other group of people that we weren't supposed to be at. The confirmation process continued. Right. In that party, we talked to a kid around our age to ask what was going on, and he told us what I said before about it being a private occasion for people who were not us. It was for a dance circuit. You got it. That's who you met? Correct as always. His name is Baxter. He rented the house right next to Cove's. No way. How do you remember him? He remembered me. And you too. He did? You verified reality with Derek for a final time. He did. He said your bow tie was cute. He said you were short. I have no idea how you recognized me. It was so weird. I'm so amazed it happened. You understood Derek's disbelief. He said your bow tie was cute. Well, I didn't remember I wore a bow tie. He's superhuman. But hey, I can live with that being my legacy. Baxter the dancer, huh? Your summer was even more exciting than I would have guessed, and I had banked on it being decently wild. And yours was exactly as eventful as I thought it'd be. Yeah, it always is. The distant tone of his voice made him feel even further away from you than he was. It wasn't what you had wanted, and you attempted to bring the topic back to something cheerier. What's going on with your family? Are Jorge and Nico being good? My little brothers are little punks, but I guess they're doing alright. You both laughed at that. Mom and Dad are fine. That's great. My moms are too. Turning your attention back to your surroundings, you smiled warmly at your family buzzing around. Towels were laid out, and chairs and umbrellas were being set up. Actually, I'm at my mom's right now. Liz and Lee are here visiting too. Oh, that's fun, but if that's the deal, I'll let you get back to it. Are you sure? I don't mind. Uh-huh, I'm sure. I'm not about to lose your number. Okay, bye. Bye, Kingsley. Have a heck of a day. Hanging up, the conversation left you energized and in good spirits. It was exactly what you needed to make this day even better. You hurried over to your mom's and helped put the rest of the food in. Moments you noticed Cove at your side. So what's the verdict on those invitations? They're gonna come. Yes. Excited, you raised your free hand to high five. Cove laughed and slapped your hand. They'll meet us here later today. Shouldn't be too long. Can't wait. And so we're gonna skip. I'm guessing this is about Baxter. He can come. Everyone else was gonna be there. You didn't want him to feel left out. You sent him a text and hoped he'd show. After that, you made sure to mention what you'd done. No one seemed to mind. Once the setup was done, everyone got comfortable and dug into the food. You couldn't remember the last time breakfast tasted this good, but you attributed it to the gorgeous ocean view and soothing sea breeze. Morning swiftly gave way to afternoon, and a very recognizable face came down to the shore. It was Baxter. He came. I'm just skipping all of this. We already got... What is auto? Oh. I'll play volleyball. Or not. I'm really trying to get through this DLC. You looked at Ma, ready to jump into a competitive mode. She looked thrilled to have you on board. Now the plans were settled, the group temporarily split into two. Alright, sports stars, you're gonna have to pick partners and then it's game on. I don't think we did this last time, so I'll do it this time. Mr. Hull left the rest of you to deliberate and turned his attention to drawing a makeshift court in the sand. Well? She walked over to you and hooked her arm around yours. You laughed. I want to be on Kingsley's team. You paired up with Ma. Of course I'll be on your team, Ma. Alright, it'll be me, Ma and me. You want to have fun with your Ma. Cove put on his game face, not intending to go easy on you now that you were on opposite sides. Cove then turned to Miranda. He looked determined. Ready to win? Yeah! When Mr. Holden finished drawing the court, he went and fetched the volleyball from the various other supplies you all brought there. Sounds like we have our teams all set, right? Yes. Good, good. Now to your sides. The four of you situated yourselves on the side of the other side or the other of the court with your partner. Mr. Holden tossed the ball to Ma. Since this was all Neolani's idea, I think it's fair she gets the first serve. Thank you, Cliff. Woo! Ma, show us boss. Go Kingsley. Make them eat sand. You kicked the small heap of sand out of your way on the simple court, making her laugh. You turned back towards Ma. Don't hold back, you're going down. Good luck, Ma. Good luck, Ma. Good luck to you too, but I don't think we're gonna need it. Ma flashed you a playful grin and punched a fist into the palm of her other hand. You were very amused at her show of confidence. With that, Ma got into position and delivered a practice first serve. The game began. In the battle over the volleyball, both teams scored points. There wasn't a set amount to reach to in things, so it went back and forth for as long as everyone wanted to play. And the game went on for quite a while as everyone got into it, especially with the cheers and added commentary. Liz and Mr. Holden made the whole game better with their humor and wit. From a distance, a jewelry-making group would also cheer when they heard shouts coming out of the court. On top of that, they would hold up each newly made piece in the air, and the others would take a breather to applaud the creation. It wasn't until all of you were exhausted from the running, spiking, and diving that a truce was called. You enjoyed every moment of it. The afternoon continued to drift by, but the fun was still going strong. Occasionally, someone would head back to the house to use the bathroom, rest away from the sun a while, or retrieve something they needed, but they always came back. The beach was never empty, and there was always a new conversation to take part in or another game to join. There was only one thing that could bring this beach day to an end, and that was for the day itself to end before anyone realized that the sun began to set over the sea. I'm gonna skip this. Oh, thanks to you two. I don't know what you were saying, but thank you. Oh, my medicine's ready to be picked up. Mom, wrap an arm around your middle, squeeze you tight. Mom, I love you too. I love all of you. Bye. We'll see you next summer, Baxter. Don't worry. His head tilted towards you. Well, not next summer. We'll see you in a few summers. Baxter offered you a hand. You used your freer hand to shake his. You waved goodbye. Instead, you patted his shoulder. You side hugged him. Give him a side hug. It took a moment, but after shuffling what you were carrying, you were able to free your hands enough to pull Baxter into a quick hug. He only laughed and looked at you fondly when you let go. I really enjoyed meeting you. I'm delighted to hear that. I enjoyed this vacation immensely thanks to you. Okay, he's jealous. Someone's jealous. You're good people too. You smiled softly. Mr. Holden looked away for a moment and sniffled. It's not about you guys. Let me out of here. Yeah, bye. It won't be long before you see me again. You offered him a small wave goodbye with one of your hands. Cove reached forward and patted your arm reassuringly, and he kept his hand there, lightly holding onto your arm. He nodded. One of his hands grabbed onto the door handle and firmly held it. He was stopping himself from coming along with you. As you walked over to your own front door, you stopped. Turning around, you spotted Cove right where you had left him. You laughed quietly to yourself. For a small pause, you both stared at each other from across the street. You blew him a kiss? No. I'll hug him goodbye. You put the remaining stuff from the beach down on the step and almost tripped, bolting across the road. The next thing you knew, you were diving into Cove's arms, wrapping your arms around his neck. The force of it all knocked you both loudly into the doorway. But neither of you cared. You both held each other tightly, and you buried your face into the crook of his neck. Night, Kingsley. He smelled like salt water and sunscreen, like home. It was a while until either of you thought to separate. Slowly you made the trek home and collected what you had left on the step into your arms again. Things couldn't be dragged out any longer, and after one more shared smile, you opened the door and went inside, shutting it behind you. A few steps in, you saw your family gathered in the living room. They were still busy unpacking and cleaning. You added the things that you brought to the pile on the kitchen counter. I hope you have the loveliest of dreams. I'll hug her back. We're so affectionate right now. You pulled her close into a bear hug. Lee giggled until you released her. I hope you sleep well too. Oh, I totally will. The moment my head hits the pillow, I'll be out. Here's us, Kingsley. Tonight, tomorrow, and forever. Yeah, family forever. Lee leaned in. What are these things flying around? The lightning bugs? No, because they're inside the house. Lee leaned in close to whisper in your ear. You didn't fail to catch the teasing look on her face. Exactly. There's no escape. That got a laugh out of you. You lightly pushed her shoulder. Lee stretched her arms high over her head. She yawned loudly and looked at you with tired eyes. I think that's my cue to head to bed. Bye. I think so too. Have fun sharing the room with Liz. She laughed at that and Lee shuffled off towards the guest bedroom. Love you, baby brother. I love you too. Liz stopped walking and stared at you for a moment. She smiled softly at you. Get some sleep soon. Morning will be here faster than you know it. I will. When Liz was out of sight, Mom started the next conversation over her shoulder. Aren't you headed up to bed too? Okay, I want to relax first. Desperately, you needed some time to decompress and clear your mind. You worried if you went off to bed now that you would end up staring at the ceiling all night. Okay. Ma came over to you, smiling understandingly. She pulled you into a big hug. Alright, you do what you need to. I love you. When you were done hugging Mom pulled you into another hug. Their actions, basically handing you off to the other, had you laughing jovially. I love you so much. I love you too. Aww. They both couldn't resist taking turns hugging you again. Your smile widened. It felt good to be so loved. Good night, kiddo. Sleep tight. Good night, sweetie. Night. After that, your moms went to bed. Oh, I got a text. Want to hang out on the hill tonight? Yeah. Oh, this is Cove. You went over to the front door and stepping over the threshold, you gave the living room one last glance over your shoulder. Then you shut the door behind you silently and made your way to the poppy hill. With light steps in the dark, you walk across the hills behind your house. Up ahead, at the very top, silhouetted beneath the night sky, was a familiar figure already waiting there. Spelling, you wondered just how he always got there first. You even had the advantage of living closer. Then again, and maybe it was only in your mind, but somehow, Cove was intrinsically linked to this place. After all these years, it would be weird to scan this horizon and not find him there, as surreal as the shore without the sea. The distance between you was growing shorter by the second. Hearing the grass and the earth crunch under your feet, Cove turned. A grin spread over his face as he saw you. You took your place standing beside him on the crest of the poppy hill, he looking out over the ocean. Same as you'd done on countless times since you first arrived when you found him on this very spot. Kingsley. He had officially broken the silence, the spell that had held you both in place. You looked at him expectantly. There's something I've always kind of wondered about. He cocked his head, giving you a sidelong glance. What did you think about when we met? I was just a kid you'd never seen before, bawling his eyes out on the hill next to your house. He chuckled, his eyes drifting towards the sea beyond, before flicking back to you. The way his gaze pulled back to you made it clear that he was genuinely invested in this topic. Luckily for him, you remembered what initially struck you in that moment. It was as if it had only happened yesterday. Well, I remember noticing the sad look on your face. Cove replicated that frown for you right now, looking grave at your reply. Yeah, I guess that would have been kind of hard to miss. Smiling, you continued to reminisce about that first meeting. I also remember trying to cheer you up. I remember that too. Sorry, I couldn't breathe for a second. He ran a hand through his hair, and he spoke his line of questioning, and you knew his line of questioning wasn't at an end, even before he spoke again. Do you remember what you thought about me, as a person? Was I annoying or mean or... I liked you immediately, I wanted to be your friend. You seemed interesting, unusual. I just worried about you because you were so upset. I didn't know what to make of you at first. I don't really remember it anymore. I don't remember anymore. Cove nodded, accepting your response. Cove's hand drifted to the scar on his arm, his fingers unconsciously gliding over the mark. It was much less noticeable than it had been when the neon pink cast had first come off, shrunken gradually over the years as his body healed, then dwarfed in comparison to his growing body. Still, his fingers came back to it without thinking. He gave a half smile, not meeting your eyes. No matter what you were thinking, I doubt it was worse than what I had going in my mind. You raised an eyebrow at his vague words, wondering what it was that he meant. Cove lifted his head up, finally committing to meet your eyes fully once more. I remember you that day. I remember it really well. I don't think I'd ever be able to forget. I can picture the way you looked back then when I first saw you standing right here. I still know the expression on your face when you chose to sit with me on the grass. He chuckled derisively, interrupting his own monologue. You scared me at first. I figured I'd be alone out there, until I had to face my dad again, and then suddenly another kid appeared out of nowhere. It was startling, but I got over that fast. Jax, are you okay? Please have some water. Please have some water, sir. Also, I'm going to change the stuff. Changing the laundry out. Why all that noise? I let you out not that long ago. Making all that noise. And for what, silly? Little silly cucumber? I hate cucumbers. I'm not gonna call you a cucumber. You can be a zucchini. I like zucchinis. But no, you're not going back out. I just let you out not long ago. You were a strange person in a strange place, but in that moment, you were exactly what I needed. Somebody I could talk to freely about what was happening and how it made me feel. And you listened to me. You stayed with me. Actually, can I do something real quick? Where? Here. Mm. I had it like this before. I can't remember. Yeah. Okay, hopefully that doesn't. I was trying to adjust the noise gate that I put on. He sighed, then bit his lip as he gave a small smile. I was a little bit spoiled growing up. Are you not okay? It just does that now. You let him continue a little. Yeah, you were. It wasn't bad. You were dealing with a lot. Cove tilted his head to the side, smiling softly at your defense of his smaller self. He looked off again, seeking clarity for his thoughts in the expanse of his night sky. What I'm trying to say is, when I was younger, I viewed myself basically as the center of the universe. I didn't even imagine it wasn't like that. Things didn't simply happen. That would be weird, according to my little kid brain. It made far more sense that everything in my life had a specific connection to me somehow, right? Well, I feel like it does, though. I feel like that's with everyone's life. Like, things don't just happen. But maybe they do. That's a philosophical question. We don't have time for that right now. He saw affirmation in you, wavy brows raised as he tried to explain his childlike logic. So at the time, you felt almost unreal. Like, you weren't just anyone. Some other kid who happened to live in that neighborhood with your own whole life that wasn't connected to Cove Holden. No, to me, you were there so that you could find me when I was lost. I kind of expected it all to vanish like a dream when that night was over. I would wake up and everything would be the same again. I'd be back in my bed at home, my real home, with both my parents. The future was something I couldn't picture anymore. I didn't know what school would be like when I was back, or the table where I'd eat breakfast the next morning, or anything. And if I could imagine it, how could I think it was something actually happening? I couldn't grasp my new reality. It was too big for me to hold on to all at once. So I never thought I'd see you again. And Cove beamed at you, his eyes shining bright. And I never, ever would have been able to guess that 10 years later, when I was a grown-up, the two of us would still be together. I didn't see things ending like this either. I'm glad this is how things went. No way, has it really been that long? You mimed counting on your hands, brow furrowed in mock concentration as Cove laughed. But the smile faded from his face as his eyebrows drew together. That was the worst day of my life at the time. The day my family broke apart. It was too heavy for me to even think about. I felt that way for I don't know how long. He held a hand over his heart, connecting with the pain he'd felt as a child, and looked at you earnestly. But now, everything is better with me, with my dad and my mom, and between the two of us. So when I remembered that time, it's not that point that my life was over. It's not the point that my life was over. It's just the day that I met you. It's so great everything worked out. That's just wonderful. Thank you for all of this. You couldn't reply to that. It's so great that everything worked out. I think so too. Cove sighed contentedly. His voice was as delicate as the petals on the poppies which crowned this hill. He tilted his head up, thoughts lost in the sparse clouds above. I wonder how late it is. I guess it doesn't really matter. My dad is fine with me being out whenever. You could just use your phone to check the time. You could still text your dad about what you're doing. You could still text your dad about what you're doing. Moms might care. I don't feel like telling them. You want to make sure you message your mom. You could just use your phone to check the time. Sure, I could, but I'm probably not gonna. Okay. With a chuckle, Cove plopped on the ground and laid on his back. His usual is spending time here. You stayed standing, you sat down, you sat on Cove's chest. Yeah, sat on his chest. If I can't breathe, you can't breathe either. You decided you'd rather not sit on the grass. It was much better seat available. It sat squarely on Cove's chest. He instinctively tried to spring up, but didn't get far with you on top of him. His head flopped into the grass again, and a huff escaped him. Why are you doing this? You simply smiled down at him. That's crazy. That's crazy. Though that you fully settled in to relax on the hill, it felt like just the beginning of one of your nightly outings, but then you realized the sun was peeking out over the horizon. Cove spoke up with a disbelieving tone. It really was late. Your neighbor wasn't a stranger to being awake at dawn, however, not like this. He was normally an early sleeper, early riser. This unexpected sunrise particularly awed him. The two of you watched on silently as the sun began to light the world. Cove then propped himself up on the backs of his arms and looked at you with a soft expression on his face. Do you want to go back home? I could carry you if you're too tired. No, I want to stay here. Maybe I wanted him to carry me home. Don't decide things for me, Kingsley. You couldn't resist a yawn, but you were serious. It couldn't be time to go already. Cove chuckled affectionately. Okay, but it's been a long day. You've done a lot of things. Like, really a lot. It has to end sometime. I know, you're right. Since when were you okay with things ending? Does it really have to end? Yeah, I don't think there's anything either of us can do about that one. But we can stay if you want to. Cole smiled brightly at you, as warm as the new rays of the sun that were tickling your skin. You know, I've been feeling really nostalgic lately. Like, sorry, sidebar. But, like, I kind of miss, like, being a teenager, even though those were, like, one of the worst years of my life. I've had a lot of worst years of my life. Being a teenager sucked ass. But I miss the nostalgia of, like, listening to, like, bands in my room and just, like, being there in the moment. Being young. Having youth. Being an adult sucks. In that moment, you couldn't have appreciated him being there more. I situated myself to be more comfortable. Good morning, Cove. He gave you a bent smile and went for the opposite sentiment. Good night, Kingsley. The two of you remained together on the familiar poppy hill where you first met until the world began to fade and blur. You were falling asleep. A few more gentle words drifted into your consciousness. I don't know why. That made me cough. I was not prepared for that. Your eyelids dipped, but you felt good. You were safe and relaxed. Everything that had come before this had reassured you of that. You were confident that that when you opened them again, things would be okay. You opened your eyes to set up the walls of your room. You were surrounded by open sky. It was not soft pillows and sheets underneath you, but the bed of the earth and the grass that you'd taken last night. The day welcomed you with the shining sun, a refreshing breeze, and the chirping song of birds. You cupped your face with your hands as you sat up, feeling the imprint of blades of grass leaving lines into your cheeks. Kingsley. Hearing your name, you lowered your hands and looked around. There he was, your most influential neighbor, Cole Holden. Okay, guy. He had made himself very comfortable, laying on his stomach with jewelry and shoes taken off and a flower in his hand. Good morning. It's not really morning anymore. Cove laughed, tickled with overall situation, simply being able to spend time like this. Told you I'd see you tomorrow. It's the exact same day, Cove. We were up here until dawn. It doesn't make it a new day now just because we went to sleep later than normal. Then we disagreed, because to me, it's not really the next day until I've been into bed and woken up. Okay. But fine, I'll just have to make sure I see you tomorrow again. Probably the day after that, too. That way, there's no argument. Cove turned his head up to the sky, his expression content. Looks like it's going to be a nice day. We'll have to come up with something to do to make the most of it. You trailed off, blinking slowly in the sunlight. Someday, when we're even older than we are now, I wonder what we'll end up remembering this moment for. What we will feel when we look back at it. Will it be the same as what we're feeling right now? I can't see what the future is going to look like again, but I think that's alright. You're way too sentimental. I'm pretty sure they'll have a good about this. I think it'll mark another new start for us. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to finding out. Cole turned back to you, nodding in full agreement. He eyed the hills sprawling out before you, and down below where the wild hill and nature gave way to civilization. Your home and Cove's lay down at the bottom, neatly filled among the other houses in the neighborhood. Is it neatly filed? Neatly filed, not filled. There would have been another L. Hey, Kingsley, I bet I can beat you in getting back to the road. You laughed, amused by the wager that reminded you of so many moments in your youth. As much as I'd like you here, it's okay if we leave now. You can always come back to see the poppies and the fireflies again, right? Close my your eyes, waiting for what you were going to say in response. Right, I like that. It really is going to be another nice day. You're amazing. We better do that. You're not getting off. You're not getting out of it. We'll always be together one way or another. Might be able to manage that. Your comment quirked a wry smile from Cove. His voice was littered with mirth. You're really irreplaceable, huh? Oh, I've got his toesies out. Put your toesies away. Cove beamed at you. His expression was so unlike the one he'd worn when you first found him here. swaddled in sadness and uncertainty. Yet, you couldn't help but glimpse that boy once more underneath his bright expression that matured features. Come on. He offered you a hand. You accepted it. Your palm fitting around his. We're holding hands? Clove lifted himself up. Oh no, he offered me a hand. Okay, I was supposed to say like, scandal, pulling you along too. Okay, you didn't have to have your big ass face here. Our parents probably aren't gonna come running for us this time. We've gotta make our own call. And I say that we can't hide away forever. Poppy Hill is just one part of things. There's more out there for us than this time and this place alone. Let's enjoy it. We couldn't say whether you were the one that broke into a run, if Cove had been the one to start it, or if he had simultaneously made that choice for you both. The end result was the same, and though with the two of you dashing down the hill like children, but with the nostalgic revelry that could only come as an adult. As the wind whipped past you, you knew the family and friends were waiting at the end of your sprint. There were more memories to make after all. Life takes another step forward. Reach the end of the game after completing it once before. Okay, cool. Got an achievement. I always like this music, however. Oh. Can I skip it? Like, this is nice, and I appreciate everybody that worked in this game, but we have done this once before. Choose an epilogue. Here you can choose which epilogue to play. Finally! No, you can only play one, and then the game will end. Enjoy. Derek! Here we go! In between. Let's see, have I changed? Have I changed my hair? I kind of fucks with my hair like this. I was short one, right? Should we do part it too? Kind of like part it too. Oops, we could be spiked. I don't know. Side 2's kind of cool too. I don't know. Hair, sideburns, bowl cut. No. Scrappy. We could be scrappy. Two-tone. So many two tones. Thick, curled, beaded, side 3, short locks, swept bangs. K-pop boy, here we come. Pull back, yeah. Sleek, strands. We could have some strands. Can I change my name? Oh, I can. I can change my name. Okay. Well, change the page. You want rosy cheeks? No. Scars. No. Glasses, earrings. Birthmark, scars. We already did this stuff. Ring. Jewels, pattern, plain. Jewel? Ooh, we can get tattoos. Kingsley, I feel like Kingsley would definitely get an arm tattoo. He seems the type. Headscarf. Oh, no. Nail length, short, nail color. Can we get black? Black. Nose ring 1. We'll just do nose ring 1. Okay, done. My feelings for Cove. The same. Direct, fond, ready. Yes. Sure, let's customize. Oh my god, look at Cove. Cove. We're gonna keep hair 1 for Cove. I've never seen that before. Glasses. He didn't have glasses, earrings. I feel like Cove looks sick as fuck with that earring. No buff. This one, okay. Shirt 1, shirt 2, shirt 3, shirt 4, shirt 1. I kind of fucks with pants too. I can't lie. Pants 3 is cool too. Get that Rolex, buddy. Get that Rolex. I mean, if he wants to keep his necklace, he can. Uzi, welcome in. How are you doing? It's been so long. Oh, his sunglasses are kind of bitching too. Why am I able to customize Cove? Oh, my phone's for Derek? I love him. I love Derek. Yes, my feelings for Derek. Okay. What initiative level would you like Derek to have for the step 4? I don't know. Middle initiative? High initiative? High. We're in love, okay? We're in love. And so your days growing up, and the loving cradle of Sunset Bird came to an end. In the years that passed since graduation, you'd moved out of your... How are you doing? I don't know if I asked that. How are you doing, Uzi? How are you doing? If you like to lurk, that's okay too, but tell me, how are you? You moved out of your childhood home and made your own way in the world. You lived alone with pets, lived with Cove and his fish. Why am I with Cove? Lived with Cove, his fish, and a pet you picked. Lived with Cove, his fish, and the pets you picked. I live with a pet. And you work at a fine company, had a business of your own, co-owned a business with Cove, had multiple ways of earning income. We're still focusing on pursuing education. You know what? We own a business together with Cove. Cove is my best buddy, my pal, my partner in crime, but that man is not my man. In the, where the fuck, fashion industry? Yes. Fashion industry. Your family members went through the same kinds of leaps into independence. Liz and Lee both eventually earned degrees and started fantastic careers in new towns. But your moms and Cove's father still lived in the same street as they had for all those years before. It was comforting to you that there were some things that remained in the old neighborhood. And despite the ever-changing reality of your adult life, your friends were still your friends. Though, of course, things weren't exactly the same up for them either. Very recently, Terry publicly came out as a man and switched the spelling of his name to use a Y instead of an I. He also confessed his love for Miranda, which she excitedly reciprocated. They moved in together recently, and the city out past Sunset Bird. One person who did disappear into the shuffle of memories inside your mind was Baxter. After his vacation in Sunset Bird 1 year, he was just gone. That was a loss she felt. He had become someone you considered a friend during those days. And then there's what became the sad little boy you grew up with, Cove Holden. Of course, he was still a very important person in your heart. Cove was absolutely most cherished friend. Cove was your family, and he always would be. Cove was your friend, and you can count on. He's my family. That's my family right there. And luckily, things worked out for the two of you. You still live pretty close by. Unfortunately, you and Cove live in different locations, far from each other. I mean, I feel like we live close by each other. We have a business together. He truly thrived in his continued efforts of cultivating loving, and supportive relationships with his family and friends. His personality had changed, becoming more reserved, though not at all unkind. He became more reserved? How'd that happen? Cove was a gentle, loyal, considerate man who took lessons he learned over the years to treat the people around him with patience and understanding. When Cove eventually developed a picture of the future he wanted to have as an adult, you can see where he was coming from based on his past interests. Cove got a 2-year degree. He worked with you in your shared business naturally and worked part-time at Orca, helping educate the public on ocean conservation and participating in shore restoration efforts. As an adult, Cove also was able to recognize and have diagnosed that he was on the autism spectrum. It was something that hadn't been noticed by the doctors as a child, but he was still the same Cove he always was to you. At least he gets to get diagnosed. I can't get a diagnosis to save my life. Literally. And he was just glad to understand himself better. Insurance won't pay for it. I aged out of insurance being able to pay for it. Like, crazy. Crazy. It threw you to see how happy and successful he'd grown to be. Growth and change came from the Suarez family as well. I'm sorry. Are you over here making noises? I'm staring at me. Not Jack staring at me from under my desk. Mr. Suarez continued to run the scuba shop with Mr. Holden, but that was about the only constant that remained. They moved to a new condo in Prism Vista City as their three boys got older and the nest began to empty. The baby of the family, Nicholas, was eventually the only one left at home. Jorge went off to a local college, staying in the dorms. Oh, good for Jorge. Then there was the oldest son, Derek Suarez. He left the area years ago to attend an out-of-state college on a sports scholarship. You kept in touch with him during those days, as you had in the past. Derek had since graduated. You were sure he would have success in whatever he pursued. The long-term direction of his career going forward was ambiguous to you, but there was still news Derek had been able to share. He was returning to the city where he grew up in, and as always, Derek had a plan. Something is interesting with my screen. Why is that orange? There's like an orange line going across my screen. Like a particular place too. And now it's gone. Are my eyes okay? I think my eyes might not be okay. The foggy and scratched glass door of the bus swung open with a gasp of air, allowing you and the rest of the passengers to disembark at your destination. You stepped from the massive vehicle into the Prism Vista City bus station. Crowds of travelers bustled across the concrete floors. A constant stream of strangers came from hallways, shuttles, and other buses. The station was absolutely packed. It was vacation season. Words. Summer had just begun, but the Californian heat was already immense. You'd be lucky if even a single day of your much-anticipated trip was under 90 degrees. Arriving was still a great relief. Steaming in the humid bus station was definitely preferable to baking inside the metal walls of the bus itself. It was a fairly short ride over, but still, you had plenty of that already on the long right there, and you'd already had to take a plane too. The bus was simply the last leg of the trip. You know what? I don't want to live too far away from my parents, but I'm gonna say it was a long ride. You didn't take your own car because it would have been even more inconvenient. It was too far for you to have driven. There was no way around the bus ride. You didn't own a car, couldn't drive places yourself. It was too far for me to have driven. I tried not to drive 45 minutes away from anywhere. Actually, I tried not to drive 20 minutes away from anywhere. 30's pushing it, but I'll do 40 for important things. But an hour? Oh my. Oh my, no. But Derek had his own car, and so that would be your last bus ride until the time was to go home. One of your sweaty hands kept a slippery grip on the handle of your rolling suitcase. It was a well-worn piece, frayed at the edges, and with an annoying, loose wheel on the left side that dared you to try keeping it moving in a straight line. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze and I caught it in just enough time. You had it since you moved out of your mom's house. And I was returning with you, at least to the general area, since you wouldn't be staying in Sunsetburg. Your accommodations were there in the city. All you had to do was inform your old friend Derek you were ready to be picked up. And so, in your other hand, was your unlocked phone with the contact screen up. You looked at Derek's name, saw the last thought he had sent you, and texted him a quick message. Good luck on your trip. Let me know when you come by. I'll be ready for you. I'm here. I've arrived. Guess who survived the trip? Here. Derek, I'm in town now. You scooted closer to the wall, positioning yourself out of the path, but in a place that was still easily visible. It only took a minute to get situated, and your phone was already buzzing with a response. Coming! Love to get that response. You cracked a smile at the screen of your cell and a brief message that lit it up. Then you put it away and he'd be there soon. There wasn't much else to do besides watch the tide of people go by and think. Recollections of how you ended up in that spot came to mind. The two of you had consistently kept in touch. He knew what was happening with you and you with him. For the past months, the catch-up calls and texts you had with Derek included updates on his process of moving. Oh, he's moving. He decided to head back to the city, at least temporarily, to help his dad with his business and work some things out for himself for his own future career prospects. Great. I thought he wanted to play sports professionally. How come that didn't work out? Derek kept you in the loop with his house hunting, logistics, the victories, and the setbacks, and making a major life transition. It all came together less than a month ago. The Suarez family was naturally thrilled to have him there. Jorge already lived near, only 40 minutes away, and Nicholas was still at home, so the whole team could be together again. The biggest brother was just happy to return to his own stomping grounds after all the years of being away. But it wasn't a familiar locale for him only. Sunset Bird was the next town over. He knew that. Derek's deep voice played inside your head. The animated way he spoke through the phone a few weeks ago was fresh in your memory. I will try to do a deep voice for Derek, but again, you gotta remember. I can barely read right now. I'm struggling. He talked about how he made it to his new apartment with an extra room and that you should totally come to stay for a while. Ooh. You'd be able to visit with his brothers and parents and your own parents and your childhood neighborhood, and you get to see him too. Bless you. Bless you, Jax. Finding a hotel in the area. Can dogs catch colds? Like from their owners? I hope not. That's so sad. Finding a hotel in the area was always the biggest problem of coming back home. You had to appreciate the unique opportunity Derek had provided. Why? Does my mom not have enough room in her house for me? My mom's kicked me out already. They just got rid of my room. Don't treat me like Elizabeth. Though, even if you had lived on the opposite end of the country, you would have tried to make it. He meant more to you than just a couch you could crash on. Seeing Derek was your main priority for the trip. You both worked it out so you could be there. Unfortunately, the other good pal from your youths couldn't make it, Cove Holden. He pounded a little about not getting to see Derek or return to Sunset Bird with you, but he recovered. What's he doing? Is he running the business? Especially because he would be coming later that very summer. He simply wasn't able to do it twice in one season. You'd be with Cove then, and Derek would still be in town too. This time, though, would be a bonding time for you and Derek. Good. You were looking forward to the trip as much as you knew Derek was. It was going to be an amazing time. You were certain the whole thing was nerve-wracking. It had been a long time since you've been together in person. You wondered what you think. It had been a long time since you've been together in person. You wondered what you think. You wondered. You worried. You changed over the years, but you hoped you and Derek stayed close. I'm looking forward to this trip. You could already imagine his bright face grinning at you. Those idle thoughts led to an idly checking the time on your phone. It'd only been about 5 minutes since you sent the text. You put your phone away yet again. It was the grand tradition of being in the bus station, waiting somewhere, checking the time, then looking around. You went back to the third step. I think after I finish Derek's DLC, I think we're going to take a break from this game, and we'll bring it back next year. We'll bring it back next summer, and we'll do Baxter's story. Because I do want to play the other Our Life game. I don't know if it's fully out, but I know the demo is. Throughout the spacious area, there were plenty of other travelers repeating the exact same process as you. Other than the people filling the space, the scene was virtually unchanged since the first time you'd seen it. You could easily recall the exact day that was, Father's Day, when you were 13. Derek had been so thoughtful, inviting you to go over to his house so you wouldn't feel lonely for the holiday. He didn't make you go through any of it on your own. It wouldn't be much longer until he was by your side again. Just thinking about it lightened your spirits. And then over the murmur of a bustling crowd, an echoing beat pounded through the air. It was the sound of rapid footsteps against the solid station floor. Pushing off from the wall, you scanned the crowd for the source. It didn't take an I Spy champion to notice the man in the bright sleeveless sweatshirt sprinting towards the bus landing area like he was about to miss the last ride of the day. But he didn't have a map, bags, or a ticket in hand. He wasn't there to go anywhere else. He had somebody to see. Is it me? Is it me? And that was you. Derek had made it. Look at Derek! He neared the drop-off spot while swiveling his head. When his gaze fell on you over to the side, his mad dash abruptly came to a stop. Derek was a solid rock in the middle of a slow-moving river of unfamiliar faces. He'd grown so much. Aw, he's so precious. A sparkling grin broke through the stillness. That part of him hadn't changed. 10 years older, but with just as much boyish charm as ever. You walked over to meet him, ran towards him, rushed to Derek, and jumped into his arms. Of course, I'm rushing and jumping into his arms. What I look like not jumping. With your suitcase rattling behind you, you push through the crowd. Oh my. He's so muscular. Derek turned on his heels to change the trajectory of his path. He took bounding strides to close the rest of the distance between you and him. The moment you were upon each other, you abandoned the bag and leapt at Derek. He caught up and held you up with the expertise of someone who had years of practice with a clingy little brother. Though the way he pressed snugly against you wasn't all wasn't at all the same kind of embrace he would give to Nicholas. I wonder what Nicholas and Jorge looked like. You hugged him back tightly, taking in his physical presence for the first time in ages. It was a wonderful start to the reunion. Then he set your feet safely back on the ground. Sup, Kingsley? It's been a while, huh? I'm trying my best. With the man himself right in front of you, it was impossible to appraise him fully. As you had to do from the beginning, you looked down to see Derek's face. Despite still surpassing him in height, it was clear he'd grown a lot. I'm taller than him? Derek's back! You joked. Yeah, I am. It's good to see you, Guy. Guy? Hold on, man. Hold on, bro. Don't say it's good to see me, Guy. We are gay for each other, sir. Do not treat me like some common guy, okay? Common man on the streets. Some dude, bro. Derek watched you so gently. His words couldn't ring anything but true. Setting his eyes on you was something he was grateful he could do. And hearing him call you by that long-time moniker really brought it home that you were, well, home. Guy was never the moniker. Guy was never it. The feeling's mutual. Nice. You ready to go? Got all your stuff? Yeah, it was only the suitcase. Which way are we going? That way, Derek rubbed to the back of his head as his immense chair chipped away just a bit. Do you mind having to take a stroll? I didn't bring the car. My place is about a 15-minute walk from here, and parking is wild. Bitch. I do mind, actually. But, fine. I would have had to park 20 minutes away just to find something outside of the apartment's reserved spot. Okay, fine. That's one thing about this place I didn't miss. He let out an airy chuckle, still awkwardly scratching his hair, not his chair. So, we're gonna have to get in some steps. That's right, it's not your fault. What a pain. It's so hot out. What a pain in the ass. So hot out. Honestly, it'll be nice to move around after that bus ride. Be an okay sign with your fingers. Oh, but, You pressed a finger to the tip of your chin, thinking. You got here way sooner than 15 minutes. It was barely more than 5. Yeah. He attempted to shrug casually, but a smirk tugged at his mouth. Ooh. It's 15 if you walk. It's quicker if you run. Oh, he ran to me. Okay. Especially when you're a fast runner, like if you're a trained athlete, for example. I don't know how I feel about this stripe right here across him. Derek jumped in place to spread his feet apart and strike a superhero pose like he was still a 13-year-old. All thanks for the trouble. Wow, what a hunk. Wow, what a hunk. You didn't have to do that. I hope you didn't push yourself. That sounds like you. I'm gonna say this one. It just seems fun. He fed off your praise and lifted his head even higher. Totally, right? Once again, completely carefree, Derek tilted his head over the way he came. Let's go. I hate doing this. I feel so weird doing a deep voice. You reach down to, purposely try to do it. It just feels so unnatural. You reach down to collect your suitcase, only to grasp empty air. You glance towards the ground just in time to see it rolling away securely in Derek's hand. Okay. What a hunk indeed. Hey, get back here with that, you joked. Wait, you just bring it here? Don't make me carry... A gentleman is always. A gentleman is always, thank you. So I don't want to carry it. You've got it. You took his free hand. Yes, take his free hand. I don't need to see anything else. Take his hand. Hold his hand. Derek had his plan, and you had your own. You went over to the side and slipped your hand around his. For an instant, he flinched at the touch, but you held firm and he eased into it. I see how it is. I'm pulling the bag and you're pulling me. Yep, that's the plan. I can never beat you. You and Derek left the station side by side and made your way through the vast city, pointed out a towering building against the skyline in the distance. It was sparkling and new and had to be at least 10 floors. That's where you were going. Having such an obvious landmark to work towards was convenient. You weren't familiar with that part of the city. The condo where the Suarez family used to live was further away from the station. It was certainly very different from Sunset Bird. You easily knew every corner of the town and could go from end to end on foot. But you continued along, certain that you make it to your destination. Derek's pace wasn't too fast or too slow. He was conscious of the connection between you and wasn't going to jerk you around. Derek chattered lightheartedly as your thoughts were drifting along. It felt completely natural being there with him. He didn't struggle to let you into his world. There was a place he'd left open and waiting for you. Derek Suarez. His name rang in your ears. Over the years, you cherished him even more until you couldn't imagine life without him. The moment you saw him again, you had been hit with a realization. You loved him. I love him. Being near him was exciting to you in ways it wasn't before. Your heart was pounding. The jaunt through the city breezed by. There was so much to catch up on. Even though you didn't sprint, the 15-minute walk still felt much closer to 5. When you arrived at the ground floor of the skyscraper Derek lived in, he showed you right up. At his front door, Derek fished a key from his sweat shorts. He swung the key on a silver loop around his fingers and joked about his near disaster from earlier that day. He'd run straight out of his house once you texted and already hit the button for the elevator when he realized his apartment was left unlocked. Derek had to bolt back down the hall as the elevator arrived, lock the door, and make it back to the other end before the elevator closed, but he made it. You kept that being on such a high floor really came in handy. The elevator had a longer way to go, and he gave him more time. Derek nodded with a laugh. Oh, this is nice. Okay. Welcome to my house. Derek's apartment was a modern but still a cozy space and completely spotless. A balcony wrapped around 2 walls of the abode. Through the crystal clear floor-to-ceiling windows, you could see the ocean. How much did you make to live here? We're in California. I'm guessing Southern California because it's 90 degrees. Like, I know it's summertime, but it's so interesting. He must make, like, a lot of money. What do you do for work, Derek? Please enlighten me. It's looking good already, huh? Too bad I didn't put any of it together. It came furnished. Okay, that explains that. But also, it costs extra to have a furnished house, does it not? None of this is yours? Nah. I didn't have a lot of important stuff in my old place. Nothing worth bringing all the way over. And who knows how long I'm going to be here. Getting new things didn't sound like a great idea. We'll see what happens long term. I might stay longer than I think. So, at least for now, a prefab apartment it is. It's wonderful. There's a real lack of footballs and soccer balls in here. Is this a smart way to handle it? You're lucky to live here? He is lucky to live here, but there's a lack of balls. There's a lack of balls around here, sir. You haven't seen my room yet. Oh! Touche. Actually, that should have been a little thingy on the E. Yeah, there should be a little thingy on the E here. Derek cast his gaze over the room like he was meeting a friend. It had made a good impression on you that had him standing proud. But he cut himself off and focused his attention back on his actual guests. You can have my spare key while you're here, and I'll show you your room so you can put this away before we get distracted with what? That was said while Derek lifted up the suitcase he insisted on carrying. You mean you can put it away? I'm not the one holding it, remember? I've got it. He's giving Kronk. Like, I know Derek's smarter than Kronk, but Derek's giving Kronk. Like, if Kronk was smart, that's what Derek would be. You were led towards the narrow hall at the side of the apartment, stopped right at the front door in the path. You arrived already. Derek opened the room for you, holding the door until you passed through. You entered your temporary bedroom. He followed you inside, still tugging the suitcase behind him. Okay, not me getting these text messages. The furniture style was a perfect match to the living area. It was easy to see that it had come as a full set. It does look nice in here, like a hotel room. Whose laptop is this? Is this your office? Derek set the bag up against the corner of the bed to keep it out of the way. Man, it's incredible that you're here, especially now. Jorge and Nico are both, I keep forgetting I have to go lower. Jorge and Nico are both on summer vacation. They're super looking forward to see you. Oh, Jorge's excited to see me? Jorge was always my favorite. Can you believe they're going to be juniors next year? They're both going to be juniors? Oh, okay. I was about to say, like, Jorge for college and Nico for high school, obviously. He spoke with an infectious, affectionate enthusiasm. Okay, the sentences. They're trying to sentence again. We used to babysit them, and now they're practically scholars. Not to mention the fact that Jorge outgrew me. Oh? I've been a couple more years, Nico will too. So much for being the big brother. It was a blow to Derek, but he took it on the chin and snorted in a good humor. You'll always be their big brother, no matter how tall they get. Jorge might have more height, but there's no way he beats you in muscle size. I can't wait to see them. They're still little babies in my mind. I can't wait to see them. I'm excited. Hold on. Where's my inhaler? I thought I brought it out here. I might have to go get it. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Usually I would put it on BRB. I know, like, I remember to put it on BRB, but I've been finding out that the song that I play on the BRB screen for the Halloween stuff, they keep copyrighting my stuff, and I don't like that. I don't like having that copyright there, and so it's just like, okay, like, I have permission to use it. It's just it keeps copyrighting it, and it's not like strikes or anything, but I just hate seeing copyright right there, so I haven't been going to the BRB screen. You won't be kept in suspense much longer now. It was a ponderous thing, hearing about other people getting older and progressing in life. Little Jorge and Nicholas had grown up so much, but the same number of years had passed for you, and you were older than them. You were an adult with a business and a place of your own. You achieved more than you had hoped for. You were doing just as well as you aspired to. Things were going alright so far. It'd ideally keep getting better. It'd been tough, and you didn't feel like you'd really accomplished much. Your life was just a mess as far as you're concerned. You didn't know how you felt. It was complicated. It got alright so far. It can keep getting better. You're really matured and embraced adulthood, but you still feel like you were a teenager rather than a real adult. I did feel like that. You weren't sure you would ever reach a point where you saw yourself as completely grown. I wonder if that's how it feels for other people. Because I think I talked to my dad about that recently. He said he still feels like he's in his 30s, and he's, like, in his 50s. Like, late 50s. I'm outing my dad like that, but still. He said he still feels like he's in, like, his... No, he said he feels like he's in his, like, early 40s. That's what he told me. Oh, look who's using their bed now. Jax. Earlier, he was staring at me from a pile of clothes. A pause had formed before you realized it. You blinked and brought your mind back to the present. Derek offered an understanding smile and then spoke to give a different type of offer. Want to see the rest of the apartment? I'll give you the tour. Oh. Yeah, that'd be great. Let me see. What's your bedroom look like? You casually went through the still open bedroom door, and Derek shut it behind you. The grand tour of the Derek Suarez locale was started immediately. You got to see the scenic guest bathroom with all the amenities, and he showed off the vast end of the hall with a closed door. Anything could have been beyond that point. Your helpful guide informed you it was his bedroom. How come I don't get to see his bedroom? Isn't it crazy having the master bedroom at the end of the hall? Sometimes I still look down there and think that's gotta be my mom and dad's room. You're moving up in the world. You and Derek strolled back into the main section to explore the dining area and the kitchen. You described the treasures hidden inside each cupboard, and you even got to check inside the fridge. It was difficult to pretend the contents were part of some tourist adventure experience. The only things here, spread out sparsely among the shelves, were water bottles, colorful sports drinks, a drink of 2% milk, a box of salad greens, and a container of some kind of packed meals. Derek awkwardly cleared his throat, feeling as if he needed to explain the sight in front of you. Babes, you don't have to. I get it. I don't have much of stock right now. I usually eat at my parents' place or get takeout. I'm on vacation, sort of. Oh, working vacation? But I should change that, especially now that there's somebody else here. He swung his arm to the side to close the fridge, but yanked it back a crack before it shut. The bottles in the front door clattered. What is this? Hashtag Princess Beauregard Chronicles. I love that. Oh, do you need water or anything to drink? I've at least got that. I will take one of your sports drinks. I need the electrolytes. I got you. Derek snuck his arm through the opening, pulled out a chilled, bright blue sports drink. He knew exactly the one I wanted. He closed the fridge for real and straightened out his stance. You accepted the bottle from his hand. The sightseeing moved back into the living room from there. His fun tidbits were there that his fun tidbits there were about which switch turned on which light and how to turn on the fan. Then he nonchalantly pointed his thumb towards the sliding door. The balcony is the only spot left, but we don't have to go out there if you don't wanna. That's cool, I wanna see it. Can we stay inside? Heights make me nervous. Heights do make me nervous. I'm gonna smile with interest. Oh, alright, let's go. With a flourish, he pulled open the sliding door that led out to the balcony. After you. You were losing track of how many doors he'd opened for you already, but you walked through the latest one with the sizzling summer air, into the sizzling summer air. The view was even more breathtaking than you'd realized from the living room. You could see for miles the sea, the sprawling city, and the rolling hills beyond that. Neither of you spoke for a moment. Derek moved past you and leaned against the railing. He stared out into the vast world ahead of him. You rested against it too, right next to Derek. You rested against it too, a little ways from Derek. You went to stand next to him. I'll be right next to Derek. He didn't flinch. Derek welcomed your presence with ease. This was the part I was the most into about the apartment. Whatever place I got, I knew it had to have a balcony. Even a small one would have been fine, but this one is amazing. Feeling settled, you sipped at the refreshing sports drink Derek had given you. He pinched his shoulders up and sent a grin your way. So that's it. The whole place. Unless you actually wanted to see inside my room. The suggestion was given with a coy brow raised and a little laugh. Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing your room. I'd like to see that sometime. No thanks. You shook your head in amusement. You actually broke eye contact. I'm looking forward to seeing your room. I want to see the promised footballs and soccer balls. And then maybe later. Derek pushed himself up from the bar to stand at his full height. This is such perfect timing. We're both gonna be in town for Father's Day tomorrow. Oh shit, it's Father's Day tomorrow? That was right, you've been present to spend the holiday in person with the Suarez family. You only stopped being there for the holiday because you moved away. You hadn't been there since you were 13, but you sent cards for the holiday. You hadn't been there since you were 13, but you called for the holiday. You hadn't done anything for the holiday with Suarez since you were 13. You know what? I sent cards for the holiday. Actually attending an event again after 10 years would be interesting. Derek spoke up again to elaborate on the plan. It's not going to be a huge party. Just going to be my parents' place. We're just going to my parents' place to hang out. I'm going to give Dad a tie. You don't have to bring anything. He'll be happy enough to see you. That's good. Yeah, it'd be great. I'd rather go than be left behind here. You nodded. Yeah, Father's Day is the whole reason I made sure I could come right now. I didn't realize I'd be here for that, but alright. Let's pretend like I knew. Same. He rubbed his hands together eagerly. Tomorrow is going to be a great day. What was that noise? Did you hear like a huh? That's what I heard. I don't know if you heard that, but that's what I heard. And look at me, inviting you to Father's Day directly like a big boy. He's so cute. I just want to just ruffle his hair. Derek was so tickled inside and out that he scratched his cheek and let out a rumbling chuckle. You certainly are a very big boy now. Thanks. His gaze swept over the city once more as his mind began to wander away from where his body was planted on the balcony. Man, it's insane how much time has gone by. It's been, 10 years since we first met? Wait. He whispered the words again with the gravity of a long-lost spell. 10 years? It's been 10 years since the first summer we spent together? Derek's voice indeed sped up faster and faster. He ran a hurried hand through his short hair, stumbling back from the railing. Oh wait, hold on. He couldn't face you anymore. Derek stared hard at nothing with his jaw clenched. It felt impossible then, but it happened. We actually became adults. Time's up. Oh, you remembered. You remembered the promise we made. It took him long enough. He never forgot what 10 years meant. Derek's face darkened, mainly in the cheek area. He was full of an uneasy energy that came out as a constant shifting in the position of his feet. Now watch him tell me he's got a partner. I'm gonna be pissed. Because I've been waiting for you, Derek. That's awkward, huh? I really hadn't planned this out as well as my teenage brain had thought I had. It was true, time was up. You and him were an entire decade older than you were then, and more than that, you had gone from being barely older than children to being adults. Derek had graduated high school and college, he had a car, a place of his own, he probably had student loans. It was just as he imagined as a 13-year-old, and it was at this point that he intended to complete his vision of grown-updom and by marrying you. You initiated a serious conversation about the deal. It made you nervous. You didn't want things to change. You wanted to be with him, and it had nothing to do with that deal. You really, really hoped Derek wanted to be with you for reasons other than that deal. I'm gonna hope. I'm gonna cross my little fingers. We're gonna hope. What did he think of you, really? He picked you out of everyone at as the person he'd marry in 10 years, but it was a backup. Maybe you were only someone worth settling with, or maybe you meant more. If he had asked you to be his boyfriend, you would have said yes, but this roundabout proposition wasn't that. Your internal back and forth slipped out in your expression. It looked concerning enough for Derek to smile reassuringly. Look, Kingsley, it's cool, I promise. I'm not expecting you to go through with a marriage pact we made when we were still small enough to fit on the child rides at the mall. He had read you completely wrong, and his attempt to comfort didn't answer any of the questions nagging at you, but you couldn't demand more. If he wanted to be with you and you alone, and for real, he'd ask. Hopefully. 23 is way younger than I imagined. Let's call the whole thing off. What? I'm shook. We're divorced now. He laughed and you snickered with him. Does it count as divorce if we were only sort of engaged? It's close enough. Then alright, congratulations on your divorce. You too, Derek. Cool, it's over. That's a weight off my shoulders. It might have been done, but it didn't change what you felt about him. Still, the sun was shining and you had Derek by your side. It was a good day. I don't agree with this. I should have been serious. I should have gotten serious and been like, hey, I like you. We should make this happen for real. But no, I decided to just keep to myself. I regret. Should regret. Please don't tell my bros about this. 23 is too soon for a marriage backup plan, and it's even earlier for me to end up in a grave from embarrassment. That's disappointing, but alright. Thanks. Derek rolled his shoulders and stretched his arms. His eyelids drooped, but you could still feel he was watching you. So, how tired are you after all that traveling? Because if you're up for it, I was thinking we could go see our families today instead of waiting for tomorrow. That idea had you re-energized and ready to hit the road again. Weren't me and Cove, like, engaged at this point and ready to get married? Okay. Okay, fine. The corners of your mouth curled into a grin. I'm definitely not tired enough to pass that up. Awesome. I'm gonna call my parents and let them know what's up. I know they'll be there. I'll see about getting in touch with Jorge too. If we're lucky, we might get a full house. I mean, we could always wait for tomorrow for Jorge to show up, but if you want him there today, sure. Make him drive 40 minutes here. His mouth cracked into a fond smile. This will be quick. You won't even miss me, or maybe you will. I wouldn't mind that. Don't say this to me. Not after you just broke my heart, Derek. You teasingly shooed him away. I won't be able to do... I can't read and I can't breathe. I won't be able to if you don't go. Get to it. True. Satisfied, Derek pulled his phone out and brought it to his ear. He began to walk away in preparation for the talk. Since he was busy with that, you decided to turn to your guest room. You considered freshening up by changing, tapping your fingers on top of the bag. You cycled through the options in your mind, but nothing felt right. Eventually, you settled on using the bathroom and splashing some water on your face instead. As you crossed the apartment, you peeked over at Derek. There was no way that you could know what was being said, but he shot you an exaggerated thumbs up. You took that as a strong sign that all was going well. You threw your fist into the air, mouthing a silent yes. The way Derek's lips twisted, you could tell that he was trying very hard to burst into laughter on the phone. It wasn't very long before your visit was properly arranged. The calls were ended, and you were leaving the apartment behind. Derek hesitated at the door and tapped his bottom lip. He was double-checking his mental checklist, but that was resolved in short order. You both stepped out into the hall, and this time he remembered to lock the door before he dashed down the hall. Hopping into his car, you promptly took off. The drive was lively. You spent it taking turns telling each other news stories about your families and your latest personal adventures. Thanks to slow-moving traffic, it was a 20-minute drive to reach his parents' new place. Derek pulled in and automatically noted how lucky you were that this condo had guest spots. Nodding along, he followed as he enthusiastically showed you the way. Derek knocked solidly, but not loudly, on the door. They knew you were coming. It didn't take you by surprise when the door almost immediately pulled open. Mrs. Suarez joyfully greeted you both. Oh, she's looking good. Hey, girl, you looking good. Hi, welcome home. Without a second thought, she wrapped her eldest into her arms. Derek gladly hugged her back with the same vigor. Hey, Mom. It's so good to see you, and Kingsley, too. She ushered you two inside, and you got your first look around. The Suarezes had moved there a couple years ago, but you'd never gotten a visit until now. It was still just as homey and comfortable as their old apartment. When you traveled further inside, you spotted Mr. Suarez sitting at the kitchen table with a chilled drink. He took a slow, drawn-out sip, and then placed the cup down and got up to join everyone else. He stood in front of you like you were a newly arrived audience, pointed at his wife, and tattled. Mom made me promise not to get the door. She wanted to be the one to answer. Mrs. Suarez was apologetic and owned up to her actions entirely. She went over to her husband and soothingly rubbed his back. Thanks for being such a good sport about it. Of course, but I get to have my greeting now. I keep forgetting I gave this man like a deep voice too. I was not expecting the deep voices today. I mean, I was, but I wasn't, you know. Doing exactly as he promised, Mr. Suarez turned from his wife to you and Derek. Two guests in his home. He pushed his glasses higher up his nose. Hello, kids. I'm happy you came early. I couldn't ask for better visitors. Let me see you too. It's been too long. It's been too long. You hugged them as you spoke. A wave of emotion pushed you forward into Mrs. Suarez's arms. She delightfully squeezed you back. You moved to Mr. Suarez next. He gave you another big hug in return. Agreed, Kingsley. Us and the boys missed having you around. Yes, it hasn't been the same without you. Okay. Derek clapped his hands together, and you couldn't help but smirk. The image reminded you so much of his mom trying to bring order to her rambunctious sons. There we go. And speaking of, where are the bros? It is the same as always. You arrived first. Where's Nicholas? It made sense to you that you had been Jorge here. He had to rearrange his day on the fly to make it. But why wasn't Nico here? Your eyebrows raised in surprise. You didn't have to ask for an explanation. Mrs. Suarez grabbed about it in an intentionally overdramatic tone. That is my question each day. Nico is never home with me anymore. Now that school is out, he travels into the city as soon as he gets up and only comes back in the evening for dinner. A mother's gloom over her baby growing up was given its silver lining by the father. He's independent. He is usually, but... Mrs. Suarez held up her cell phone and her lips curled into a mischievous grin. She added a wink when she shifted her attention to you. I might have sent a text that you two were coming by. I'm sure that'll get his attention. He'll get his butt back over here sooner rather than later for a change. Right. It struck you that by Derek's understanding tone that none of this was news to him. They were explaining Nico's habits for your sake. The whole family was as polite as they were perceptive. Since we've got time, why don't you show Kingsley the condo? I was about to suggest the same thing. What do you think, Kingsley? Want to take the tour? I do. Show me everything. Mrs. Suarez's light was evident. She endearingly looped her arm through yours to lead you directly. Similarly to what Derek had done earlier that day, his parents led you through the highlights of their new home. Mr. Suarez proudly listed all the amenities the complex offered outside as well. Whoa, that's nice. You got any openings? Derek leisurely followed him along behind the group, loosely listening to the fact list. He had a few notes to add here and there. Sometime later, a phone interrupted the conversation with a loud ding. Oh, sorry, it's me. He partially shifted the phone out of his loose pocket and checked for any important news. He beamed victoriously and let his phone slide back into the depths. Jorge's here. And with good timing, the tour was complete. Let us go meet Junior. The current group left the hall behind and crowded back into the living room, ready for the party to grow in size. As you got there, you heard a firm and even-paced string of knocks on the door. Mr. Suarez eagerly shouted over the sound. My turn. Fair is fair. Cheekily? This is cheerily. Cheerily, Mr. Suarez jaunted off and swung the door wide open, knowing that his middle son was on the other side. Oh my god, look at little Jorge! He's grown so much! And he was, although Jorge Jr. Suarez was hardly a junior anymore. Jorge was not only grown taller than his big brother, but he also towered over his parents. Your jaw would have been on the floor if Derek hadn't mentioned this earlier. He towers over his parents? His dad's like a grizzly bear. What do you mean? That's terrifying. How tall is he? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Still, from his neat sandy brown hair, his calm expression, and relaxed stance, you knew that he was still the same boy you knew as a kid. Jorge also remained a placid presence in his rambunctious family. They cheered at his arrival and smiled sweetly. Aw, his voice sounds so nice too. Hello, I hope I didn't keep you waiting. Welcome home, Junior. Don't worry about that, you didn't take long at all. Derek, I guess. Why did I feel like he was taller? Is she tall too? I always felt she was shorter. I don't know, maybe I just didn't recognize the heights as anything. Like the heights meant nothing to me here. But I guess they mean something. I wouldn't say towers over them. Derek struck when Jorge was distracted by their parents. He hooked an arm around his brother's neck and pulled him close. Jorge hugged Derek to his side. So Derek's already here, huh? Yeah, I am. Never would have guessed that. The brothers let go and gave each other one last light show. Jorge went over to you next. Hey Kingsley, it's been a while. It has been a while. I've been waiting forever to see you. I'm so proud you've grown into such a responsible young man. I missed you. Tapped his nose. Tapped his nose like a weirdo. You flashed a teasing grin as you pulled back. Jorge wrinkled his nose in an attempt to get rid of the lingering feeling. Yeah, okay, I missed you too. You notice the remaining rigidness lift from Jorge's frame. He snagged a drink from the kitchen and settled in. He was joined there by the others and recounted his day so far. Eventually, you all heard the distinct sound of the doorknob jiggling and turning. No knocking was required for this one. There was only one person it could be, the last to arrive for the gathering and the last to have been born, Nicholas. The door popped open with a swish and you saw that you were undeniably right. Oh, okay. I see you, long hair, don't care. He still has the hair clips in, that's kind of cute. It was Nico, but his appearance had your brows pinching. He was extremely different, yet simultaneously so similar to this tiny 6-year-old you had first met him as. Somehow his hair managed to be even wilder than when he was an elementary school kid. You know what he's giving? He's giving Ponyo's dad. That's what he's giving right now. Besides that, he'd become a young man despite continuing to be a baby in your mind's eye. That's how I feel seeing my friend's little sister. That's really how I feel. I remember, oops, sorry, I did not mean to hit the mic. I remember when she was 6, and we had sleepover, and we made a tent in the living room, and she would cuddle up to me. She stuck into our little fort that we made, and she would cuddle up to me when we were sleeping, and I was like, why are you here? 1, 2, why are you cuddling me? Cuddle your sister. And now she's a senior in high school, and I'm like, no, it's not allowed, it's illegal. He was sporting a colorful rainbow romper that was fashionable as it was functional, as well as his iconic hair clips to round out the mix of old and new. Nicholas is back! With a roll of his eyes, Nicholas animatedly gestured and held his arms out. You bit back an amused laugh. No shit, I live here. That's not news. Oh, he's got a mouth on him. The news is that Derek and Kingsley are back. He bounced over and managed to securely lock himself around his big brother's wide chest. Derek wrapped an arm across his brother's shoulders in response. Derek ruffled Nico's long, thick hair before letting him go. It was sweet that the gesture of affection between them hadn't changed, though Derek didn't have to lean down to do it anymore. Hey, hello, son. Thank you for coming. Walking by, Nicholas gave a short wave to his parents and then elbowed Jorge chumily as his hello. Jorge teasingly retaliated with a poke to his little brother's side. Finally, Nicholas stopped in front of you. Hey, Kingsley, welcome back to Casa Suarez. Hi, I'm so glad to see you. It's my sweet baby boy. What a charming gentleman you've grown into. You can't be that big. That's illegal. That's illegal. You pinch his cheek. Turn back into a little thing right now. Nicholas howled at your teasing. You let go and he crossed his arms. The law has no power over me. Neither do you. Okay, so he's doing drugs. He's doing drugs. Get him to rehab. The law has no power over you. Jail. He reached over with both hands and playfully pinched both of your cheeks. You willingly accepted your grim fate. Nico loved to mimic people after all. Now the whole Suarez family plus you was together again. Mr. Suarez admiringly looked at his wife and then his sons. He securely hooked his fingers into his belt loops. This is very good, yes. I wonder if everyone here will be coming back tomorrow as well. Of course, Dad. What? Oh, okay, that was weird. Sorry. Kingsley and I are going to be here for sure. I might manage to work it into my busy schedule. We wouldn't miss it for anything. Need to take a drink break. I already can't wait for tomorrow. Superb! That's exactly what I wanted for the day. Mr. and Mrs. Suarez provided lunch. It was nice for the whole family to be sitting at one busy table, but afterwards, Derek announced that you two should hit the road. I'm gonna get going too. I've got a class later. Oh, he's got class later. He's doing summer school. Are you serious? We've barely done anything. Sorry, Nico. We gotta take the trip out to Sunset Bird before it gets any later. Oh, we're visiting my parents too? I thought we were just getting to yours. Okay. Fine. Me, you, and Jorge are doing something together and not the Father's Day thing, okay? Something that's gonna be fun with just us. Sighing affectionately, Mrs. Suarez shared a look with her snickering husband. Nicholas was going through the iconic parents are uncool teen phase. I have made sure to have that whole day free. I promise to come over early. Derek tilted his head towards you, silently asking your opinion before agreeing to anything. I'd love to hang out with the boys. Cool, got it. We'll both be there. Count on it. We can do whatever Nico wants in the afternoon, and then it'll be Dad's pick in the evening. Alright, see you then. And with that settled, everyone exchanged their goodbyes and see you soon. You and Derek left in good spirits. You hopped into his car, already eager for home. Sunset Bird was waiting for you. Oh, he's got one of those. He's got one of those new cars. Ew. Ew. I hate these kind of cars. During the drive, you sent off a text to let your moms know that you were coming by soon. They knew you were arriving today, but they had no idea when you were going to be free to come see them. Humming to himself, Derek sped down the highway. The city's skyscrapers were far behind you in the distance, and there was nothing but rolling hills of green. It was strange to be sitting shotgun with Derek after all the years of your friendship being trapped in the long-distance zone, but at the same time, it also wasn't. What was arguably stranger was how his presence affected you. Having him there by your side was the most normal thing in the world to you. Soon enough, you began to recognize landmarks dotting the way to your hometown. Excitement buzzed under your skin. You were ready to get back home. Is that what we're leaving this? As just friends? I hate it. The car flew past the now leaving side, and you rolled down the window to wave at it. Officially, you were firmly back in Sunset Bird. It didn't take more than a few minutes to drive through the rest of town and roll into the sleepy neighborhood that you grew up. Derek parked along the curb, and you both slid out. We made it safe and sound. Sorry, I keep forgetting that I have to do a deep voice for him. I keep forgetting. Derek leisurely leaned on his car. He looked over the roof at you and lifted a questioning brow. Ready to head in? Derek gestured for you to lead the way. You gladly approached your childhood home. Without missing a beat, you located and rang the all-in-place doorbell. Ma expectantly answered the door. Her eyes sparkled and landed on you immediately. Oh, look at her. Short hair, girl. I see it. I vibes with it. Hello, sweetie. Derek, welcome. Come in. What are these? Those look interesting. Ma stepped aside, grinning wildly. She held the door all the way open so everyone could hurry through. Hey, Okay, I see you too, Mom. Mom's voice rang out from the hall right before she appeared physically in front of you. She excitedly stopped at her wife's side. What a sight for sore eyes. Hi, moms. I missed you. I'm home. Both looking good. I hope you've been well. I hope you've been well. Give them peace sign. Mom's mouth wobbled and twisted until she let out an amused chuckle. Mom placed a light hand on your shoulder. We've missed you and Liz, but we're fine. Same as always. We take it day by day, but I think we're doing phenomenally today in particular. Derek gently worked his way into the conversation. You didn't miss the way his skin was suddenly a shade rosier than before. Thanks, Mrs. and Mrs. Rochelle, for letting me come by too. It's nice to see you again. You don't need to thank us for that. You can come over any time. You're an excellent guest. Yes, and we need to thank you for giving our Kingsley a place to stay. Now we'll get to visit with him even more this summer. They shared a knowing look with their eyes alight. They had to be thinking of their big anniversary later in the season. You'd be coming back to Sunset Bird for that. You didn't mind all the traveling, but it was worth it. Good point. Happy almost anniversary. Oh my gosh, we have to do that again. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't. Thank you. But what's shaking? You've been busy, huh? Oh yeah, it's been crazy for sure with the move and learning the ropes to help my dad with some things and other stuff. There's a lot going on. Tell me about it. I wasn't expecting things to be this jam-packed. The group relaxed and hung out in the living room. Each person shared updates from the past and plans for the future. It went on until the sun began to set. At that point, you and Derek decided that it was best to leave sooner rather than later. The end of the visit was accepted with grace. Goodbye. Thanks again for coming to see us. Tell Mr. Suarez Happy Father's Day for us. We'll be sure to do that. Bye. Great seeing you. With that, you stepped into the warm embrace of the evening air. Leaving that house, going onto that street, it was something that you'd done countless times. Believing how much the context of that action had changed was hard. You were only here on a visit, while the person you were staying with was Derek, a true reversal from the old days. Derek followed you out, but didn't go to his car. Instead, he stepped into the center of the road and stayed there. His gaze wandered up the hill and past that, off into the distance. He spoke with a voice as comforting as the familiar song of the crickets. Hey, before we go, can we stretch our legs a bit? There's one other thing I want to do while we're here. Don't have to ask me twice. Lead the way. Cool, thanks. Derek took his head into the direction he wanted to go. His mouth looked into a grin, and he started strolling. You followed at his side. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. Derek moves with wide, carefree strides, his arms pumped back and forth with each step. You found yourself headed outside of the residential area of Sunset Bird and onto the main street. It had been nice to familiarize yourself with the area during the little jaunt. Derek got a conversation going between you. It's still hard to believe we're hanging out together right now. Seriously, when did that happen? But also, when did it stop happening? It's something I've been thinking about. His voice grew quieter as he was unable to meet your gaze. He shrugged and let the conversation hang on that note. The walk continued, and you had a good idea of what he was going to say, where he was going at that point. There was something coming up in the middle of the path, and it wouldn't hold any interest to anyone other than you, Derek, and Cove. You're back? Welcome back, Cookie. Where'd you go? Did you have a nice trip? You get anything tasty to eat while you were gone? For the three of you, it was special. Derek crouched down to the ground, right where you expected. He smiled wistfully at a decade-old inscription. The writing was well-worn, but still visible. He slowly placed his finger over the small print he left in the concrete as a 13-year-old. He was so much larger than he used to be. His fingers completely eclipsed the tiny mark, and yet he seemed small again to you in that moment. You're on the city bus! Oh my gosh, the bus? I can't take the bus. The bus sounds scary. Were you safe? Well, I hope you were safe. I hope nothing bad happened. Where'd you go? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. Next, Derek moved to the summer 2011 you had made. He dragged his fingertip over to carefully trace it. You were safe? Good. I'm glad you were safe. There was something on his mind that swept him miles away all of a sudden. You had no idea what it could be, and that uncertainty left a sour taste in your tongue. Did you get anything tasty on your trip? Or was it like a business trip? Like you had business to do? Derek remained transfixed with concrete on his own internal musings. Gradually, his frown worsened. time is such a sucky thing to play against. If you mess up, that's it. Even if you try to turn things around later, you're not getting what you lost back. It's just gone. Making mistakes isn't a waste. Do you think you messed something up? That scares me. You should be proud of what you've been able to do. You watched him quietly. Do you think you've messed something up? Because you did. You did mess something up, Derek. He chuckled, but it was the furthest thing from being reassuring. You nervously chewed at the inside of your cheek. I've messed up a lot of things. That was all that came of it. Derek pushed off the ground and got back on his feet. He brushed some dirt off and took his phone out. He got a picture of himself giving a thumbs up in front of the concrete slab. The solemn air around him vanished. I'm gonna text this to Cove. Wait, I want to be in the picture too. That's very cute. Cove will appreciate our pilgrimage to the stone idol. I want to be in the picture too. Oh, sure. You held your hand out in the air above the markings and Derek went with another thumbs up. He snapped the picture. Now it's perfect. Yeah. You caught Derek's gaze wandering off again. He hummed thoughtfully and you followed his eye out to the local store across the street. I just remembered I'm so low on groceries. We could journey over there. We could, but I'm worried things go bad on the drive back to the apartment. Plus, it's been a super long day already. What do you mean go bad? It's not like it takes 2 hours. It's not going to be in the hot-ass car for 2 hours. You have air conditioning, do you not? It's not that far away. Oh my god, I hate when they do that. How about we pick something up for dinner and save shopping for tomorrow? My treat. How can I say no to that? I vote for takeout. Well, first of all, we're busy tomorrow as well, so, like, it really doesn't make sense. It doesn't, but go off. Awesome. Think about what you're in the mood for and let's get going. Together, you evenly went back to the way you came. This time, you got in the car and drove out of Sunset Bird once more. Derek ordered from your preferred drive-thru and temporarily parked in the shade to pass out the goods. He handed you your drink and folded a paper bag with your food. You dug in immediately. Derek's ride was nice and still had a new car smell, but he had no problem with people eating in it. He shared his philosophy of the inevitability that lived and stuff is going to get dirty. He wasn't going to get mad about normal wear and tear. That's my kind of guy. Unless you're like purposely making it dirty, that's different. But like just regular wear and tear, that's understandable. With a big family of busy boys and an inability to keep things pristine, certainly must have been an unavoidable fact of life for Derek. He and him enjoyed the meal. It was long finished when he pulled into his apartment's designated parking spot. With sunset dimmed down to inky blackness, it was hard to see. Derek switched on the interior car light as you gathered up the trash and the bags that dinner had come in. He led the way to his place, key in hand, and unlocked his door. Derek held it open for you instead of going through. You could have told someone he'd do that before it ever happened. That was second nature to Derek. You took a few steps in and flicked on the front light switch. Derek came in second and closed the door behind him. He walked further into the living room and flopped down on his couch. That was a successful day. A long, successful day. I feel like you've already been here a week and you just got here this morning. Are you saying you're trying to get rid of me already? I've really been all around. Yep, I'm impressed that we fit in so much in a day. No wonder I'm exhausted. Derek leaned his head back as he thought. Tomorrow's gonna be busy too. He raised his hand and counted each of the planned activities with a finger. Groceries, taking the bros out, and then Father's Day thing. It'll be great. I'm already tired again just hearing it. I also want to get something a gift-wise for Father's Day. I want to get a gift for your dad. So add that to the list. I want to get your dad something for the holiday. You're so nice. We can find something when we're out shopping, I bet. Think you'd like a nice cantaloupe? Do you think a cantaloupe would satisfy him for a Father's Day gift? Thanks. That'll work out. Derek blinked sleepily, sinking further into the couch. He looked cozy. He shook himself and suddenly clapped his hands together. But, hey, you probably... Oh my gosh, that scared me. But hey, you probably want to shower and settle in for real before it gets even later. He grabbed the back of the couch and hauled himself to his feet. We could always work on the schedule when we're not sweaty and exhausted. I mean, we could get sweatier and more exhausted if you want, but I feel like he's not into me anymore. It makes me so sad. But that's the best time to plan things. Give me a second. Okay, check the laundry. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Still very much wet. Bless you. Jax, why do you do this? Why do you stand in the way? I think he likes being in the way. He stands right where he doesn't need to be. He knows exactly where he doesn't need to be, and he stands there. Derek exhaled sharply at your joke, and he smiled. Yeah, I'll gladly go take your hot water. Bye, Derek. Derek waved you off as you returned to the guest room. You got out of your stuff, put your toiletries in the bathroom, and showered. You tried to be quick, and were soon in your pajamas winding down for the night. Once again, you were back in your room. You plugged in your phone, charged it, and unpacked tomorrow's clothes. A knock rattled your door. Can I come in? Yeah. Derek accepted your invitation and shut the door behind him after he walked in. Sup, guy? Sup yourself. You went over to Derek. You sat down on the bed for a conversation. You sat on the bed and patted the spot next to you. Come sit. You shut your suitcase. Maybe, did I make Guy a thing? I don't remember making Guy a thing, but I probably did make Guy a thing. You shut your suitcase and climbed on the edge of the bed. You scooted to the corner, leaving room for Derek's-sized person to sit down. Derek stood in the corner of the room, not getting the hint until you gestured at the empty space beside you. Not him being clueless. He strode forward and hopped onto the mattress. The bed bounced beneath you. You could do more bouncing, but I feel like you don't want to. He grinned boyishly at you. Everything good in here? No, everything's not good in here. What do I just smile back in response? Derek nodded, delighted that you were happy. He truly was a conscientious host. Derek stretched his arms above his head and yawned. Despite his sleepiness, he remained upbeat. Rather than seeming done with the conversation, he appeared to be mulling over something. Probably what to say next. He wasn't being responsible and going to bed early. He didn't mind. This was your first day back together, and there was no need to rush its end. A spark came to his eyes, inspiration striking him. He instinctively leaned closer to you, bringing your faces almost nose to nose. Kingsley, while you're here, we should go to the water park. There's one a ways away, but it'd be so worth it. He eagerly continued to lay out his thought process. We haven't done something like that since that boardwalk. Man, that was ages ago. Our families were there. If we tried it, we could keep it just you and me. Obviously, there's not a chance tomorrow, so how about the day after that? We could go there first thing, spend the afternoon together, and get going before it gets late. He paused and took a hopeful breath. All of his attention focused on your reaction. So, what do you think? I'd love to go. It sounded like a lot of fun. You remembered how much Derek had talked up water parks before. Didn't we not get to do anything at the water park because of Nico? Go to the water park would be such a fun thing to do. Derek's smile widened. You could tell that he was already mentally planning how the adventure would go. It sort of felt like being asked out on a date, in a roundabout, indirect manner that could go either way depending on however you wanted to take it. Textbook Derek. With absolutely no further prompting, he winked. Okay, guy. Since I'm finally saying this, I might as well admit the rest. I thought about inviting you to a water park before, and not only the water park. There were a lot of places I wanted to take you when we lived closer to each other. There was always a reason not to. I was busy, you were probably busy, or maybe you wouldn't like my idea and all that. At least, yeah, what he said. He dropped his gaze and shrugged. You waited for him to rally, to turn it around. You could picture him saying something positive, maybe better late than ever, or being glad that he finally did it. But as the silence continued, no silver lining came. He had failed in his past endeavors, and that was it. No one spoke, and the awkwardness began to press on you. But Derek brightened his voice, unwilling to let it linger any longer. Well, it's late. I shouldn't keep you up. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early. We should plan to leave the apartment by around 8 for shopping. Everything's close enough that we can walk, if that's alright. Okay. Great. Good night, Kingsley. Good night, Derek. I don't know why I said it like that, but good night. Derek nodded and left the room without another word, leaving you alone. With my thoughts? How dare he? After all of what you had earned your exhaustion. After all of what? Okay, I think that's supposed to be that. That's okay. You were at your limit, too sleepy to do anything else. You flicked the light switch and went straight to bed. You woke up the next morning in an unfamiliar but awfully comfortable bed. The sheets smelled of an unknown laundry detergent. You slowly absorbed your surroundings. This was Derek's place, wasn't it? And you were on a schedule. You groaned and rolled over to check the clock on the side table. It was hours before you had to leave. You had woken up with plenty of time. You had slept in. You needed to hurry. You raised up the bed and threw on your stuff together. As soon as possible, you made your way into the living room. All the while, the conversation from the night before was dogging your thoughts. It was a heavy admission for him, his lack of confidence to reach out to you. You didn't want to dwell on it. It was a big day for the entire Suarez family, and you didn't want to rain on their parade just because you were aware that it used to flood in the past. Derek would bring it up if he wanted to talk more about it, but until then, you would let it lie. The man on your mind was the first thing you saw as you stepped out of the hall. He was fully dressed and lounging on the couch. Morning, Kingsley. You blinked wearily and yawned dramatically. It's so early. Yeah, you made it. You knew that you were barely on schedule, but technically it was before 8, and you took the win. You glanced around, and your gaze landed on a little sticky note on the kitchen counter that hadn't been there the night before. What's the note? You can forget about it. I was just about to toss it. I wrote it to let you know I was going to go to the gym in case you woke up and discovered I had vanished. Oh. You smiled at his consideration. He could have texted you, but had probably worried about disturbing you. Making physical notes was an old habit of his. You're such a morning person. Thanks for leaving the note. Sorry for not getting up earlier enough to actually read this. Thanks for leaving the note. You're welcome. Derek stretched out and then clambered down off the couch. I keep the voice. I'm gonna go finish getting ready. Then we can get going. Looks like you're the one waiting for me, not the other way around. You snorted at his acknowledgement, and he laughed as well. The morning person was technically running as late as you. Derek took a quick shower, and then you two left the apartment to run your errands before the day could start in earnest. Derek picked the most direct path to the nearby grocery store. Around you, the city bustled as people tried to get to work. Cars lined the streets, and people hurried into various buildings. It took approximately 10 minutes to reach the automatic doors of the store and step into the air conditioning. Various displays tried to sell you on all the Father's Day deals. If I could pronounce S's, that'd be great. There wasn't much about it that set this one apart from the one in your old town. We're probably going to need a cart. He pulled one out of the smooth movement and had slightly squeaky wheel. There, we're ready to go. He leaned over the handle like he was at the start of the cart race, waiting for the shot to go off. So, what protein do you want? It was a good question. At that point of your life, you were... I'm still a selective eater. There was something Derek was already aware of, but he couldn't make an entire meal plan for you. We can start cooking at home for some of your meals, though. A lot of what we'll eat today will probably still be from my parents' house or restaurants. Now, how long am I staying here? Is it the entire summer? I'd say we'll only need 2 or 3 packs of things. I'm thinking chicken, sausage, and eggs, but you can get something else. Oh, I kind of want eggs. Like right now. It sounds tasty. I want to make sure there's stuff you want to eat. I was supposed to make chicken tenders for dinner, and I don't want to. I don't want to cook. I hate cooking, but now I'm thinking about it. Actually, give me a second. You inspected your surroundings and thought about what you wanted. Give me a moment. I had to take the chicken tenders out of the refrigerator so they could thaw. I want beef. No. Let's get some scrimp. I want scrimp. I want pork. Pork belly is so tasty, but also it's kind of gross. I don't eat cod, or do I eat cod? Let's get some cod. And some turkey. and he wanted what Derek had suggested. Derek smiled and shook his head. Are you sure you're gonna finish it all before you leave? Well, if I'm here for the whole summer, I'm not gonna be able to help that much. I'm not Cove. You both chuckled at that joke. It was very true. I'll just get what I can manage. Don't worry. Oh, sorry. I'll just get what I can manage. Don't worry. Alright, let's go grab some good vegetables to go with that and some rice or whatever. I forgot he said that we're going to be eating out. I was expecting to cook. That's why I was like, let's get all of this stuff. Alright, let's go grab some good vegetables to go with that and some rice or whatever. Just remember to check the discount rack. Mangoes would be good. We need a pineapple. We should get a jug of lemonade. How about oatmeal? Let's go check the discount rack. Derek snorted. He craned his neck around to look for it. You're a genius. There's a discount rack at grocery stores? How did I never notice that? Oh, and what are you thinking of getting for a gift? Hey, what's up, Ken? What's up? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? I keep asking that. But I want to know, how are you? What's up? What have you been up to? Hope you're doing well. Oh, and what are you thinking of getting for a gift? That's a great question. You considered your options. It needs to be easy to transport. Something that could go bad probably wouldn't be the best choice. You thought about what Derek Dad would appreciate. You went for, I feel like he'd like a nice cantaloupe. A bottle of cologne at the grocery store? We're not buying cologne at the grocery store. A mug, a box of chocolates, a pack of cards, a cheese and meat sampling box. Oh, that sounds nice. A pack of socks. Cool. You began your very purposeful browsing. Derek sped walked with the cart. He kept things moving, but wasn't rushing you either. It was neither as leisurely as when you first shopped with him. What am I saying? Neither of you were in a rush and appreciate the company. Okay, there we go. However, as adults, the atmosphere between you was markedly different. You've been doing alright. You got into a car crash a few weeks ago, so you're still healing up from that. How you been? When did you get in this car? Did you tell me about this? I thought the last time you mentioned an injury, it was you hiking. Are you recovering well? I did not know that you were. Why did you tell me? How I've been? I'm recovering from a cold. A very severe cold. I say severe, it's just because I'm still short of breath and coughing and sneezing. But other than that, I'm fine. Like, I have a lot more energy though. So I'm not really fatigued. I was fatigued a bit ago. And I don't have to use my inhaler like several times a day. Now it's just a few times. Now it's just a few times a day. Not that much better, but hey. Hey, I'm not wheezing, just a little short of breath. Before you had investigated the store as if every shelf could have buried treasure, now the items took little attention, and you spent more energy absorbing each other's presence. Grocery shopping was more of a chore and less of an experience. However, even chores weren't bad with Derek. You both debated brands, helped spot elusive items, and encouraged each other to get what you wanted. If one of you hesitated over something, the other would compel the other to treat themselves. Mutual decisions were praised for a good taste, and strange selections were jokingly critiqued. It was the best visit to the grocery store you had in ages. When you checked the discount rack, there was a small package from the store's bakery, mostly cookies from the day before. Oh, tasty. Oh, I kind of want cookies. Has your prediction come true? What was your prediction, Darius? You can't remember if you mentioned it. It was just after your birthday. I missed your birthday too. Did I tell you happy birthday? Oh my god, I'm such a bad friend. There's definitely a virus going around. Half your agency is out. Glad you're getting better though. See, that's what the thing is. Like, I don't think it was like RSV or COVID because I didn't have a fever at all. And when I had COVID before, I had a fever, and then when Gil had RSV, he also had a fever, but I didn't have a fever this time. I was just really like, I just couldn't breathe basically. I was dying. Well, RSV is more of a respiratory disorder or disease, so I feel like I would have gotten a fever with it. Either way, I'm sorry about your office being out, like half the office being out, and I'm sorry I missed your birthday. It wasn't grand, but it was more reasonable size treat for two than, say, a whole pie. That's how Derek felt about it. What? Okay. He grabbed one and dropped it in the cart. Knowing him, he planned to share. After getting the goods, you went through the self-checkout to pay for it all. Derek scanned and bagged until everything was put away and paid for. And you bagged, okay. I keep skipping words. The first part of the shopping trip was over. Now you had to carry it all back on foot. I forgot we came here on foot. Why didn't we take the car? Gary becomes straight and Cove is your stalker, I think. No. Me and Cove are in business together. And Derek may be straight. He may have hurt my feelings. We don't know yet. Okay? Derek loaded himself up with the supplies eagerly. Do you normally carry your groceries like this? I didn't think about how we'd have to walk back with this stuff. I really didn't. It's okay, it was on the 29th last month. Sounds like you and Donnie had the same thing. He couldn't breathe at all last week, and he had really bad congestion and sinus inflammation. I'm so sorry about Donnie. I hope he feels better. It's not okay, though. I really do feel bad. I swear I wrote it down. Where is my planner? My planner is all the way in the other room. I swear I wrote it down. I'm so sorry. Derek was highly amused at your lack of forethought. Walking with extra weight is a bonus. For you, I'm not trying to bulk up, sir. I'm not trying to bulk up. He continued to grab the bags without asking you to help. It soon became obvious that he intended to carry all of them. You didn't know anything. You won't know anything, Darius. You hurried and snatched a few bags before you could. You waited for Derek to finish. I'm gonna wait for him to finish. I'm not snatching shit. You weren't gonna argue when he wanted an extra arm exercise. Well, he hadn't questioned his biceps before. While you hadn't questioned his biceps before, now you had more insight to how he maintained them. You also went to the gym earlier. You retraced the path back to the apartment, crossing through the crowded streets with bundles of groceries. The pace was brisk. The two of you had places to be and people to see. As soon as you returned, Derek dumped the bags onto the counter. He turned his head over his shoulder to face you. We can just put the cold stuff in the fridge and leave the rest. We gotta go soon. Where in the fridge? Wherever you'll remember it being, babes. My memory is shit. Obviously, we just found that out. I'm not gonna remember where I put stuff in the refrigerator. What sage organizational advice? You followed along with Derek's enthusiasm. Let's do it. With confident determination, the two of you tore through the bags in search of goods that needed to stay chilled. With a team effort, it only took a couple of minutes to put the groceries away safely. Nice work, Kingsley. He offered you a triumphant high five. Also, yes, I'm doing voices, okay? I'm trying my best. I forgot that they made these characters deep-voiced, and they're men, and I'm not fond of doing it, but I have to do it. I have to do it for the character. You gave his hand a loud smack. Now, nothing's stopping us. We can actually eat some of these groceries we got. Immediately, if not sooner. Given the ticking clock, you had a fast and simple breakfast. While it wasn't fancy, it satisfied your appetite and would fuel you throughout the day. When you were done, Derek placed his dirty dishes in the sink. He gave them a light rinse and wiped his hands. We gotta go. The bros are waiting. In short order, you exited the apartment. As you would be staying out longer, Derek was more cautious leaving his place. Derek double-checked that he locked the door and went to his car. You jumped in the passenger seat and buckled your seatbelt. I still don't know what this man does for work. How can he afford this place? Derek started the ignition and checked behind him before he easily pulled out of the spot. He says bro now, you're cooked. He's been saying bro. Also, he said bros, as in his brothers. Where have you been, Darius? Where have you been? Jorge texted me and said he was already at mom and dad's place. He's gonna leave his car there, and then you, me, and him and Nico will go in mine. It'd be too much of an extra hassle to make Jorge drive behind us. Now, where the fuck are we going? He grinned cheekily with a knowing glance. But I did already tell him that you had dibs on shotgun. Oh, okay. Thank you. Of course, I'm happy to use my eldest brother powers for you. Derek was bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. His focus stayed on the road. He boldly navigated through the packed streets, his entire demeanor screaming his familiarity with the drive. The sounds of traffic droned on, making it easy to zone out. You hadn't even noticed that the conversation had completely dropped off until Derek spoke up with a question. Did you sleep all right? The first night in a new place can be rough. I think I might have tossed and turned, but it's fuzzy. I'm sorry. If you kept having issues, let me know, alright? You can let me sleep in your bed, Derek, if you want to. You know, that's okay. Okay. So, how was your gym adventure? He doesn't necessarily have to have a deep voice if that makes it easier on you. And I appreciate you saying that. But he does have a deep voice. He does. And I just have to commit. I have to commit. It was excellent. I worked up a sweat this morning. Thanks for asking. That's good. What do you think we'll do today? What's our workout schedule? I do 2 days on and 1 day off. At least when I'm talking about full gym workouts. I walk and jog regularly too. I get antsy if I go too long without doing anything. He listened with interest as he went into the more detail about his current sets and goals. Derek turned into the same parking lot from the day before he arrived at the other Suarez household. We both got out of the car and walked up to their door in the complex. It swung open before Derek could knock. Derek took a step back, not expecting it. Jorge grinned from the doorway and welcomed you inside. Hey, bro. Welcome back. Jorge fist bumped his brother, each of them excited. Hey, Jorge, what's up? You know, life. Okay, Jorge. He led you further into the condo. Nicholas was lounging on the couch. She twisted around to face you. I am here. Nicholas cheered and threw his hands up in the air. He hopped off the cushion, bouncing to his feet. He ran to the entryway, immediately going to Derek. Of course, you wouldn't miss it. You noticed Mr. and Mrs. Suarez cleaning up in the kitchen. They must have just finished breakfast themselves. Oh, looks like we have company. Welcome, it's nice to see you two. Derek nodded and his mom turned around to put a jar of strawberry jam in the refrigerator. Hello, Derek. Good morning, Kingsley. How was the drive? Hi, Dad. The drive was the same as usual, but forget about that. Derek lit up with anticipation and beamed. Happy Father's Day. Yeah, happy Father's Day. Mrs. Suarez patted her husband on the back and huffed up a full proud dad mode. Thank you. Oh, and my mom said happy Father's Day too. He directed his attention towards you. Thank you again. It's a wonderful day already. Derek observed contentedly before glancing over his brothers. Jorge had pulled out his phone at some point and Nicholas was absent-mindedly fiddled with his hair clips. You two ready to go? I was born ready. With that zealous claim, Nicholas was suddenly all fired up. Jorge crossed his arms decidedly, not as energetic. Jorge's never been energetic, and we love that about Jorge. Mrs. Suarez, alright. Yeah, okay. What do you mean, alright? She's a married woman. You've seen her before. You were here when we were playing that, playing. What are you talking about, Darius? What are you talking about? I'm not that level of ready, but I can manage leaving now. Jorge's my kind of dude. That's what I meant to say. Do you need anything, Kingsley? Nope. Okay, don't speak for me, Kingsley. I'll say if I need anything. Alright, then let's go. No one needs to go potty. Mrs. Suarez poked her head into the conversation, her expression too innocent. All three of her sons slumped their shoulders and sighed. Yes, Mom. Yes, Mom. Perfect. You clapped her hands together. She clapped her hands together. I didn't clap her hands. She clapped her hands together and the boys relaxed, all showing different degrees of amusement. Another person playing this? Listen, I've been playing this since Valentine's Day. And we're finally finishing Derek's route. I don't know if we'll finish it today. I'm going to try my best to finish it today. But whenever Gil tells me he's on his way home, we got to stop. Because that's when I got to start dinner. That's when I got to start dinner. But we'll probably finish Derek's route, like I said. I mentioned it earlier, but we'll finish Derek's route this year, and then next year we'll probably play this again in the summer, and we'll do Baxter's route. But I do want to play the other, Our Life game. You have, like, 14 playthroughs. Who's your favorite character? 14 playthroughs with W priorities. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how you feel about Mrs. Suarez. Okay. There are other things I want to do. I feel like this game is taking up so much of my time. Not that I don't like it. I do enjoy this game. Also, Pearl, welcome in. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. Miranda's the best girl. I wish we could date the other characters too. I would love to. I would love to date the other characters. Like, I love Miranda. And me and Jeremy can have a love-hate relationship. They won't let me. They won't let me. Have fun and we'll see you this evening. Goodbye. See you tonight, we'll be there. Now let's roll out. Derek led the way after waving to his parents. He held the door for you and his brothers. Outside, he unlocked the car and it beeped. Jorge and Nicholas beelined for the vehicle. Jorge initially went for the passenger seat before catching himself and opening the back door. Nicholas burrowed into the back seat without hesitation. You and Derek got into the car, completing the seating arrangement that Derek had discussed prior. As Derek turned the key in the ignition, it struck you that the last time you had been on an outing with only the four of you was when you'd been the boys' babysitter. Ah, okay, yes. Damned ads, I'm sorry, but I need them. Now, Jorge was an actual adult, and Nicholas wasn't that far behind him. It was surreal, thinking about how much had changed over the years. Everyone had grown up. You wondered how Nicholas and Jorge felt about hanging out with the big kids as equals. Derek cranked up the AC, but kept the car in park. He leaned his head back. So, Nico, where am I going? The youngest leaned forward, sticking his head through the gap between the car's front seats. I want to go to Zake? I want to say that's Zake, but I could be wrong. It's a bakery. Or it could be Exake. Exake? I'm going to say Zake, for my sanity. Derek raised his eyebrows and exchanged a look with Jorge. Whoa, that is a surprise. Even more of a one than I figured. You're not a fan of cakes and cupcakes and all things sugary? Yeah, I thought you grew out of all that. Jorge's tone was more teasing than Derek's, dry with mock skepticism. Nicholas rolled his eyes. I did, but most desserts are totally inedible. This place is different. The owner is cool and we should support local businesses. They've got vegan and gluten-free options and other stuff too. Now, can we get over there? The later he gets, the more stuff will be sold out. I mean, he's not wrong about that. I want to go to a bakery so bad, but I don't know any bakeries. Zake is a nasty name. Why is Zake a nasty name? Well, that was annoying. The ads. Get a subscription if you don't want ads. I'm not taking my ads off. Plus, I can't anyway. It's not allowed. Once you hit affiliate, it's not allowed. Bring it up on your phone. It should be 20 minutes from here. 20 minutes for a bakery? Derek chuckled, but chose not to comment on all the defensive explanations. Your wish is my command. Thank you. Nicholas smelled sweeter than his dessert preferences. Derek brought out the phone, and typed out Zake. Okay, I was right. You have the wedding DLC, but not the Derek and Baxter ones. I have all the DLC. I bought it. I had a moment of weakness, and I bought all of it. On the maps program, nothing obvious turns up. Nicholas snorted, still poking his head towards the front of the car. Try an X, not a Z. Gotcha. I think I've only played Derek's DLC so far, and Derek's DLC is really cute. However, he is testing my patience. He is. Derek corrected his spelling and then tapped the first result. It was open, averagely busy, and an estimated 22 minutes away. Now buckle up. By the way, your VTuber bestie knows Cove's voice actor, sorta. Oh, that's cool. Baxter's voice actor came into my stream one day. That was cool too. I was like, whoa. He's really nice. Nicholas flung himself backwards and settled into his seat. Derek waited for him to click his seatbelt before shifting the car into reverse. Jorge, all the words are escaping my brain right now. They pop in chat. Yeah, I was so surprised that they just here. He also recommended another project he was in that I want to play eventually. Jorge had been buckled since his brother had started the car, and you weren't far behind. You wondered if it was normal for Nicholas to need a reminder. Directions chimed in over the speakers to head east. Derek shook his head. Let me escape the parking lot first. He muttered to the mapping program as it kept giving him unhelpful instructions. Once he reached the road, it finally stopped complaining about Derek's twists and turns. You can't wait for the second game to fully release, so it hasn't come out yet? All I know is about the demo. I don't know when it comes out fully. Do you know when it comes out? Maybe you could go for one of the brothers now that Derek is a raging heterosexual. Shut up. He's got the hots for me deep down. I know it. Jorge drew one of his legs up and leaned against the car door, getting comfy. Still to be announced. Okay, I wasn't sure. I had the demo. And I want to play the demo, like, at least next month is when I want to start the demo. I actually wanted to start it this month, but here we are. I thought I'd be finished with this game by now, that's why. If we were going to go somewhere with a bakery, we could have gone to the grocery store. Think about convenience. Come on, bro. We've got a car now. We have higher standards than the grocery store's bakery section. Jorge laughed back at him, but doubled down. I still would have picked a normal supermarket. It's a classic. Played the demo a few times. Did you enjoy it? Derek grinned as he flicked his turn signal on. Most of his attention was on the stoplight in front of him, but he still took the opportunity to banter. Sorry, Jorge. Kingsley and I went to the grocery store today without you. Already? Yeah, I was out of basically everything. Shoot, you missed out then. Jorge closed his eyelids tightly and hummed in thought. Remember back when Nicholas insisted on using his allowance on a carton of eggs so he could see if cooking them on the sidewalk worked? Yeah, I also remember all the raw eggs puddles and eating scrambled eggs for breakfast and dinner. Nicholas shrugged his shoulders high, justified, but hiding his embarrassment. I absolutely loved it. You already have a fave character. I think I might have a favorite character. Like I said, I have not touched the demo yet. We're definitely playing that next month. The demo. Inquiring minds had to know. And it was more exciting than getting an apple. Jorge's eyes narrowed, openly judging his little brother. I wanted to eat an apple, and I did. My purchase led to zero regret, unlike your science experiment. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. I always wanted to try frying an egg on the street. You know, I have always wanted to. I tried the egg thing too when I was a kid. Jorge still bore. Not for calling him borehead. No, I would never say that. I love Jorge. Cracking eggs on the ground is an even bigger mess than the pie fight. Hey, did you two do that thing where you stuck your hands in the veggie mist? Don't stick your hands in the veggie mist. That's unhygienic. Nicholas' seatbelt strained against him, leaning forward. You get it. I do get it. I do. It felt hot enough that summer that it should have worked. It was worth checking. Did you use aluminum foil on the ground? Did they say that they did? I don't remember. I don't remember what I read. I still think there was a way to do it. I still think there is a way to do it as well. That lively discussion continued through the drive. About 20 minutes later, the GPS chimed that the destination was on the right. Derek turned into a packed row of shops. Above one of them, a bright pink sign with electrified swirled letters proclaimed itself as Zake. It grabbed your attention. Standing out amongst the more sedated signs around it, Nicholas shimmied in his seat. Derek found a parking place along the street and carefully parallel parked. Enough cars zoomed past on the street that Derek and Nicholas didn't feel safe opening their car doors. Eula and Jorge got out first and walked on the sidewalk for the two to crawl through. Nicholas stifled his laughter as he watched Derek contort himself over the gear shift. The spot had a meter, so Derek paid for 30 minutes worth of parking. We should be in and out, right? We're not planning the whole meal here. Definitely not. Then that'll work. Despite the minor bumps getting there, all the boys were visibly thrilled. You were delighted. Nicholas fussed with his hair and readjusted his romper. Once he had straightened it back out, he nodded at George, who waited by him. Derek marched ahead of the pack, and they were certain that they were going to hold Zake's door open for everyone. And you were certain that he was going to hold the door open for everyone. Oh my gosh, words. You treasured his gallantry. He truly was considerate. You felt warm inside when he took hold of the handle and pushed it forward. He held it wide and waited for you and his little brothers to pass. Nicholas skipped on by, with Jorge not far behind him. He followed them, but turned to Derek on the way in. You're playing a very hard Pokemon ROM? How's that going? What ROM is it? Why, thank you, noble Derek. No problem. Sorry, no problem. There we go. You continued in, and Derek was only a step behind you. The swinging of the door as it closed jingled a sprightly bell. It set the tone of the place immediately, a classy yet cozy atmosphere that was full of to bursting with warm and inviting scents, and most everything was some shade of pink or cream. You know what? This is definitely the wedding cake place I became to when I got married to Cove. You and this voice, where are you? You're just jealous. You're just jealous of this voice. I'm so good at it. So far, so good. It's Pokemon Emerald Kaizo. Emerald used to be my favorite Pokemon. And then other Pokemon games came out. It set the tone of the place immediately. Yeah, okay, I read that already. If the owner could have made the green leaves of live plants around the room a delicate baby pink instead, you didn't doubt they would have. The four of you went over and clustered together near the front of the shop. Today's freshly made confections sat in perfectly aligned rows inside of a glass display. Each had its own paper doily underneath. No other customers were inside at the time, but you weren't alone for more than a minute. The bell had announced your arrival, and the sound drew out someone from the back. Oh? She's a new. I've never seen her before. They blended in with the store's style so exactly. It had to be intentional. Their softly pointed face was painted with expertly applied makeup that could rival the pristine details of the cake on order. The frame was framed by a few strands of shoulder-length pastel pink hair. The rest of it was propped into a fancy updo with floral accessories. As glamorous as the employee was, they weren't too good for a homey apron to protect their pretty clothes from the messy behind-the-scenes work that lovely baked treats demanded. W hairdo, it actually is really cute. It is really cute. The shiny purple button on the one strap of had their pronouns printed out in black letters. They them. They greeted the small crowd with a gentle, amiable tone. Welcome to Zake. Thanks for coming by. My name's Xavier, the head baker, and I own the shop too. Okay, do you? Do you, Xavier? Sup, Xavier. Sorry, sup, Xavier. It didn't have just Xavier. His reply was formal to the point of being flippant. Nico wasn't even looking at them when he said it. He leaned lower and began pursuing the daily selections up close. Hello, Nico. Your patronage is always appreciated. With the personal greetings between these two complete, Xavier looked over the rest of your gang with a friendly smile. I actually really like the name Xavier. Too bad the name's been ruined for me. It's good to see you again, too. Derek's usual conversationalist skills failed him. He was loath to embarrass another person by pointing out a little fact that they weren't seeing each other again. A total stall in the exchange was avoided thanks to the fact that Jorge didn't have the same reservations. He could speak far more frankly. Like the flowers? What do you mean, like the flowers? Is that why the name sucks? I actually think Xavier is kind of a cool name. It's just I have personal issues with someone named Xavier. And so that's why I don't fuck with Xavier. We've never been here before. Only Nico, though maybe Kingsley has. I can't speak for him. He raised an eyebrow while glancing your way. He paused his small correction to let you contribute your side concerning the bakery. I feel like it's about that time where my brain is completely shutting off and I'm just like not processing stuff. It's around like the almost 3-hour mark that I start going flat, and then somewhere around like an hour or two after that I get the energy again. You left the pinky flowers. Oh, what do you say, the pinky flowers? I mean, are we considering this pinky? I guess that is pinky, yeah. I don't know why, I was just considering that an off-white. No, you mean his name is Xavier, so Zake. Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, yeah, that could make sense. Zake's by Xavier. You shook your head at the possibility of this being a repeat spot for you. As far as you knew, Zake didn't even exist the last time you were in the city. Yeah, it's Pinky. Zake. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, for some reason I wasn't considering it pink. I was just considering it off-white. Not me either. I've never seen this place. That's what I thought. You don't know us. Xavier's grin was undaunted. That might have been a customer service skill, but Nicholas, snickering mischievously in the background, gave away that something else was likely the reason for their calm reaction to Jorge's directness. You Soros brothers may not have been all together at my bakery before, but we certainly have already met, more than once. 4 eyes went wide and 2 mouths grimaced at the same time in the same way. Xavier spoke so surely and plainly, Derek and Jorge flipped instantly from viewing them as a stranger to an embarrassment over forgetting someone they should have known. And Kingsley, was it? I think we might be acquainted too. I cannot tell you enough. Even if we've met before, I probably do not remember you, and that's no fault of your own. I have a shit memory. Your face was a perfect reflection of their shock. You were skeptical, maybe it was a joke, and Nico and them were pulling. That made you curious, you eagerly waited to find out more. It suddenly hit you what they meant. Girl, who are you? Not girl like girl, but like girl as like girl. What kind of history did you have with them? Two of the three brothers transparently inspecting Xavier up and down, trying to put together how they might have met the mysterious baker who claimed to know them. The hair color is pink, hence why I said pinky. Listen, my brain is not here. I just told you, I'm getting to that point where my mind is starting to fog over from streaming. Meanwhile, the youngest of the set pretended that he was still scrutinizing the desserts. But unless they had jokes hidden in the frosting, Nicholas' highly amused smirk reflected in the glass revealed that he was fully engaged in the conversation happening above them. Jorge tilted his head from one side to the other and crossed his arms. Derek subconsciously scratched the side of his face at the awkward turn this had taken. Did you, like, paint our faces at the face painting place? Is that where we know you from? Sorry, I'm blanking on who you are. How did we meet? Xavier's eyes fluttered closed as they primly straightened their apron. Oh, they have a voice? I did not even hear that they had a voice. Nicholas, with his hair clips and wild locks, is very recognizable. He hasn't changed at all. If I only saw one of you as an adult in isolation, I doubt I would have realized who you were either. As adults? At one point, jumped out at Jorge so distinctly he spoke it back to Xavier as if he was Nicholas mimicking Derek. Exactly, the last time we saw each other, you were at least 2 feet shorter. Xavier hovered their flattened fingers in front of them like they were resting on a counter roughly around 4 feet high as a visual demonstration. Is anyone else getting those political text messages telling me to vote? Like, I've already voted. But I keep getting them, and I wish they would stop. And I wish they would stop calling me too. It's so annoying. I wish there could be, like, an option, like, hey, I already voted. Leave me alone. It's very annoying. Like, I'm okay with the ads. But what I'm not okay with is them blowing up my fucking phone. You should definitely vote. Not voting is not good. You should definitely vote. They progressively lifted their hand up until their palm was high enough that it could have sat... Okay, I read that. Wait, nope. Sat on top of a fully grown Jorge's head if he was closer. You sound like my mom? Well, you should vote. You should definitely vote. Not voting causes bad things to happen. Like, a candidate that definitely should not be in power getting power. Because people who do vote, a lot of people who do vote for not good things. Like, you can opt out of politics, but politics cannot opt out of you. And as someone who is disabled, you should definitely care. Because a lot of policies that were in place for disabled people are getting taken away because of decisions that were made by people who did vote for a bad candidate. You vote, but a right is a choice. I mean, voting is a privilege. It is, but it is something that you should do. So that you can have systems in place for you and for other people who have other things going on. Okay, but you still live in the U.S., so until you move out. The progressive lifted their hand up until their palm was high enough. Are you just liking the tiptoes? Okay, yeah. I've always had an artist soul, but my medium wasn't always decorative pastries. My first job straight out of high school was painting faces at the big boardwalk park. Oh, that is you! Whoa! I can't believe I remembered that. Derek's face went alight with a flash of recognition. The fingers that had been scraping his skin twitched, then started to searchingly press along the length of his cheek, as though a painted rainbow might have suddenly appeared there. Sounds like I'd make a good politician. You know, I was class president in 4th grade. I was. And then I gave up my position of power because the power went to my head. And I realized that. I did realize that. I was like, yeah, I can't do this. I'm going a little power crazy. Jorge slapped his hand against his forehead. It all became so obvious to him. Shocker, shut up, Darius. The trio of excitable yet well-behaved brothers who'd come by a few times a year were some of my favorite customers. But Xavier quite literally didn't forget about you either, and they shifted their gaze to rest on you. But, like, yeah, I can't force you to vote, But saying like it's not something you care about is definitely something you shouldn't say, because you should care. And there are things in place that voting helps do. It helps us. It helps people who are marginalized get the rights that we deserve. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that. Don't vote. It kind of suck, but do you. And I'm relatively sure one time the boys brought friends with them, and that one of the friends was you. Oh, you finally got it. The day on the boardwalk had been memorable for many reasons, but embarrassingly, the identity of the artist had slipped through the mental cracks. A tiny chuckle bubbled out. This wasn't even the first time a lack of recollection led to an amusing reunion. We weren't as good as recognizing faces as Baxter, clearly. A huge childlike grin filled out Derek's face. He looked no different than he did all those years ago when you first met Xavier, massive muscles aside. You're spot on. One time, Kingsley and his older sister came with us, and we all stopped by your face painting stall. I can't believe we met again, and like this, in a bakery of all things. It's awesome. Derek resolved to restart the interaction on the right foot, and he finally gave a greeting of his own to Xavier. Okay, I don't know why your mailbox is destroyed, but I hope it gets fixed. Be safe going to the post office. Hey again, Xavier the artist. The middle brother followed the eldest's example and offered a reprise to his original statement. Oh, okay, good to see you again too. Well, it's so cool, small world. Xavier was tickled by the reception. Floridian, maybe? Someone broke into it and the landlord hasn't replaced it yet? What the fuck be happening where you live? Like, I know you say you live in a ghetto, but still. What? I'm shook. Please stay safe. Xavier was just tickled by the reception. The visit was going to be worth it for them, even if you walked away without purchasing a single piece of cake. Can we get something other than cake? You got cookies here? At some point, Nicholas had stopped eyeballing the pastries and had leaned coolly against the counter. He also finally... You got donuts? I want a donut. See ya, Pura... How do I say it? Is it Pura? I think it's Pura. See ya. Be safe. Again, stay safe. He also finally rejoined the conversation instead of existing as an entertained audience member. I told you the owner was cool. Oh, thank you for talking me up, Nicholas. Now that we all are reacquainted, is there anything I can do for you? Nico slipped his hand into his pocket, staying totally chill. We'll probably get a couple of things to go. I want... He paused and squinted down over his shoulder at the treats one more time. Get me an eclair. And a cup of water, too. Will do. Anything else? They surveyed the other 3 people in the room as they asked the question and waited for a response. His lack of haircut is throwing you off. I know. I'm surprised he didn't, cut his hair. But you know what? More power to him. You don't have to cut your hair. You can keep it long and glorious. Jorge approached his only little brother at the front display, shooting him a wry smile upon his arrival, but then he quite seriously considered what was available. I'll have a blueberry muffin. The one in the middle and on the left. My left. It looks like it has the most berries. Xavier gave 2 quick nods. Their hands were already busy putting together a box of Nico's selected pastries. Sorry, I received messages on Discord, and I need to check to see if Gil's on his way home. Hopefully he remembered to message me that he's on his way home if he's on his way home. Xavier gave 2 quick nods. Their hands were already busy putting together a box for Nico's selected pastry. Derek, however, stayed back and his focus went to you rather than the baker or their wares. It can be long too. It can tame it. Listen. He wants to do what he wants to do with his hair, and that's all on him. We love the freedom of speech, power of expression. What are you thinking? I'm gonna pass. Oh, because your diet or whatever. I don't feel like getting something when I try something new. I'm not sure. I'll get a better look at them. It's mainly a cake shop. I'm gonna get some cake. I'll get a better look. Cool. You joined the other Suarez brothers and contemplated what, if any, treats to pick out for yourself. Up close, you noticed that there were tiny handwritten signs in front of those options. They declared that what flavor each quaint confection was in pretty looping letters. The variety of somewhat limited, but those likely weren't the only things a baker ever had available. They were simply what was made for the day. You decided you wanted a slice of vanilla cake, chocolate, strawberry. Okay, that's all cake. Brownie, eclair, none of them. Why couldn't this be a regular lemon cake? I don't want all that. I do not want all that. I'll just get a regular vanilla cake. You heard Derek come up behind you. You didn't have to look to guess what he was trying to figure out. What had caught your eye? You eagerly pointed out the prized dessert. Vanilla cake? Yes, I like vanilla cake. I would have preferred a lemon, but I'll take a vanilla. But I did not want raspberry lemon. I would like regular lemon. Looks good. Xavier, I'd like to get a vanilla cake. Absolutely. And that's everything? 2 packed and prepped boxes were sitting side by side as Xavier reached behind them for a third. Should be. Nicholas and Jorge both gave a thumbs up. They gave a thumbs up to confirm that they were all taken care of. The answer caused feigned confusion from Xavier. You're not getting what Derek is getting, Nico? That kind of teasing from someone other than another Suarez caught you entirely by surprise, but Nicholas was able to quit back with ease. Derek might be on a Sigma journey. I don't know what that means. What is a Sigma journey? Maybe I would have, but Derek isn't getting anything. He'd lose out on a sale if I copied that. Good point. You don't need to do that. Hey, why don't you be the one to pick out something for him instead? No thanks, that's not how this works. It was worth a shot. The two chuckled good-naturedly. Let me ring you up. Those were the magic words to draw Derek fully over to the front. He came to the spot right across from the register. It didn't go unnoticed. You're the only one who didn't get anything. You shouldn't pay. Nico snapped his head around with a look of true offense at what had gone on behind his back. He folded his arms disapprovingly, catching Derek with his hand in the metaphorical cookie jar. Focused and goal-orientated. Okay. I mean, we love to see it. We love Derek. Derek's the guy. Or rather, putting his own cookies in someone else's jar. Derek made a look of faux surprise that gave Xavier's response to Nicholas a non-mimic decision, making a run for its money with his scoff of played-up disbelief. You can't take away my oldest child privilege of treating my little brothers. And Kingsley's my guest. Why wouldn't I pick up the tab for him? The middle and youngest Juarez's shared concerned glances with one another, their brows knit and their frowns salty. However, their brotherly nonverbal communication gradually softened their expressions. Their eyes carried the message they needed, and soon they were shrugging in acceptance. Derek gave a winning grin and pulled out his awaiting wallet. He was forever their big brother after all. Thank you, Derek. I'm still paying for me, even if you're covering them. What a gentleman. You know, I'll pay for me. Alright. Don't let me get in your way. The treats were paid for, and Xavier carefully passed over the crisp white boxes to their rightful owners. The Zake logo was printed in, and of course, pink ink across the top flaps. They also handed over a cup of water for Nicholas. Thank you for your lovely patronage. Have a wonderful day. Derek, Jorge, and Nicholas each gave a cheery goodbye and began to walk out as a group. You gave a wave and turned to leave them with them. Thank you too. Bye. I cannot read. Your group's first stop of the day was completed in a sweetly satisfying way. We're not completing this today. As much as I would love to complete this today, we're not completing this today. Oh my. There's so much reading. I forgot how much reading that this game takes. Everyone got back into the car, same seats as before. No one had even put their seatbelt on before Jorge asked a very reasonable question. What are we doing now? Derek checked the back seat through the mirror. Yeah, well now, Nico. Nicholas crossed his arms behind his head, thoughtfully staring out the window. All eyes stayed on today's decision-maker. He considered long and hard in the hot car about how to use his power. In the end, he went for his old default. The teen leaned all the way over and popped his head through the gap between the two front seats. He glanced back and forth between you and Derek with one fuzzy brow arched. You might have to put this on the back burner. No, we are finishing Derek's story. We can do Baxter's next year. But we're finishing Derek. Not today, possibly, but we are finishing Derek this year. What did people do when you were teens? What way to make us sound ancient. We're 23. We used to go to the mall. That's what I used to do when I was a teenager. We used to either go to the mall or we'd hang out at a friend's house and I would sing to them. We either sing, play video games, or read fan fiction. That's what we did as a teenager. We aren't old. Nicholas is just a little baby. Nicholas rolled his eyes. I'm not a baby. But he pressed again. I mean it. What was the place to be when you weren't babysitting me and Jorge? Derek tapped a finger against the steering wheel. I remember the mall being super cool when I was still in school, but that's started to die out, huh? The mall? Really? Sparkles began to twinkle in Nicholas's eye with the twilight sky. Yeah. The word was a nostalgic whisper. His gaze drifted off to somewhere in the distance. Hey, Kingsley, remember when Miss Priest brought you, me, Cove, and Lee to the mall and just took off so we were on our own? I thought that was such a bad idea, but it was a ton of fun. Of course I remember that. Those were the days. I still have no idea why she did that. Oh, I think I know what you mean. Definitely. She was cool. Those were the days. Totally. Jorge shrugged a single shoulder, buckling himself in for the ride. I've only ever gone with Mom to get some new clothes. I don't remember it being better than any other store, but if that's what Nico wants to do, I don't mind. Nicholas launched himself backwards and bounced in his seat. He stayed still just long enough to lock his seatbelt into place. The mall it is. 2 more clicks followed as you and Derek put your seatbelts on. Derek pulled out and you were on the road once more. The drive was sent with Derek trying and failing to remember all the stores that used to be in the country mall. I say country mall or county mall? This was county mall. He listed several off, but he had no idea how many were still open in the year of 2021, or if they were even real store names, or he was mixing the words up. His little brother reveled in the laugh-inducing floundering explanation of the magical mall of his youth. They took bets on how many of the shops they'd actually see when they got there. Yeah, malls are a dying business. The mall near my house got shut down, and I laughed. Because the GameStop there didn't hire me when I wanted a job there, but I got a job at a different GameStop. So, it's all good. It is what it is. And now, I think it's a storage unit. I want to say it's a storage unit now in the mall that was there. They built over it. They tore it down and they built over it. Jorge guessed only about 3 of them would be there if they ever existed. Nicholas declared that every single one would be there, even the ones that definitely sounded made up. Derek, reasonable as always, went down the middle with his own recollection and guessed that you'd be able to find half of them there. I don't agree with Derek. Derek assured you that you'd made the wise decision. You felt good about your odds. When you rolled into the county mall's expansive parking lot, Derek was able to get a parking spot without any trouble. There were rows of cracked and oil-stained slots, with only a single car or 2 there already. Just as Derek thought, the location had lost most of its popularity as the years went on. How petty? What's petty? What did I do that was petty? Should have showed you were more of a team player. I'm not, though. I'm not a team player. It was at least convenient for your needs. It was probably the only place in the city where the parking wasn't jam-packed. The 4 of you filed out of the car, crossed the lot, and passed through the towering front doors. Oh, still nice in here. Not the sort of name being named Kaka. Not Kaka. The interior of the place had a slight uncanny feel. The massive structure was unchanged from when you were a teenager, but everything felt smaller, less grand than before. I mean, I can work on a team, but I would prefer not to. There were stores that you were almost certain you'd never seen there. Yet there was so little to differentiate their offers and appearances from the shops of the past, it made you question your memory. Also, it would have been like my first job ever, and I was very nervous. I was very tiny. So I don't think, because the mall is like a busy place, and like GameStop used to get like robbed a lot. Well, here we are, take it in. Oh, sorry. Well, here we are, take it in. Wow. We wandered up and down the wide, mostly empty halls, pointing out the stores Derek had named, or almost named, along the way. It was a game of I Spy. More with this I Spy nonsense. The younger brothers were quite entertained just by that. They led the pack to the first look of whatever was ahead. Derek and you lingered behind and gave appropriate reactions whenever the boys shouted out a store name that matched Derek's recollection or one that he had failed to note. Now, I hate going to the mall. I went to the mall in Las Vegas, and I hated it every second of it. I hated every second of that mall experience. The two laughed and waved back at you while you cheered and booed up at them. When you neared the end of the aisle, there was a break in the store names that could be announced. Derek used that moment to whisper a joking remark. It feels like we're babysitting again, huh? Yep, our precious big babies. He winked and picked up the pace. Nico and Jorge had drifted further away from his watchful eyes, and a responsible babysitter couldn't let that happen. Your group arrived at the crossroads of the mall, where three separate halls of stores converged in the middle. The tiny playground of coin rides, flanked by half-full candy dispensers, remained the centerpiece. The little cars and the helicopter were far more worn down, but still intact. Derek snorted at the revelation. Well, we definitely are too old for that now. I might seriously break something if I tried to fit. Without the boisterousness of Nicholas and Jorge to fill space, the sounds of footsteps echoed so much louder. Derek's expression twisted and drooped bittersweetly, looking at the space. Being here now, it's not the same. Then his focus came onto his brothers, and his face snapped back to its usual optimism. So, do you guys actually want to go into any of these stores? His little brothers both turned around to stare wide-eyed at their elder. Nicholas and Jorge were genuinely taken by surprise at the idea of behaving as regular customers. They were visiting as sightseers of an archaeological site from the times long gone. Nico blinked rapidly to hydrate his eyeballs after keeping them open for so long. Then his expression slipped into an easy grin, and he put his hands on his hips. Yeah, I'll try it. Do kids not go into stores nowadays? He scanned the rows and rows of stores with new, refreshed eyes. A target was quickly acquired. Nicholas pointed an outstretched hand at a black-walled skater shop. Sometimes going to the store is cheaper than shopping online. And I have realized this. As much as I hate going inside, I will go into a store to get a cheaper price. Online shopping killed malls, and you're okay with that? I kind of miss malls. Like, being a teenager and hanging out at the mall with my friends was kind of the fun thing to do. And now I don't go anywhere. I go, like, 3 places. I want to look at that one. Jorge had come to face an entirely different direction. He mulled over the suggestion silently and was gazing with consideration at a bookstore with huge glass windows that showed off not only the books on sale, but other wares with board games and figurines. The unspoken difference of opinion didn't escape Derek's attention. He spoke with full authority, truly dusting off those old babysitter instincts. Hey, this doesn't mean I want you guys going off on your own. You're not little kids, but we're here to be together, and it's time to see more than one place. And there's time to see more than one place. We'll take turns. Okay. Why do they blink so aggressively? They're just existing, man. Leave them alone. Let them blink. Automatically and obediently, Jorge and Nicholas replied in unison. They were good kids. Is there some place you or Kingsley want to go to? Derek didn't hesitate. He jerked a thumb over his shoulder at the video game shop. That's what I want to check out. Kingsley? All 3 Suarez brothers watched you questioningly, each wondering the same thing. It was hard to say without knowing for sure what the options even were, but luckily the entire section had a handy 8-foot-tall map that was emblazoned with easy-to-follow categories and lists of store names. It was a veritable cheat sheet for their little game, and you were glad the 2 younger boys found stores they wanted without needing to peek at it. Oh my god, my throat's so dry from speaking. There was nothing wrong with you having some extra insight, though, and you read over everything laid out. I'm thinking back to, like, how I do normally, like, 3-hour streams is usually the max. And that one time, I thought the game was gonna last, like, 3-4 hours max, and it lasted 8 fucking hours, and I streamed 8 hours. I don't know if I could ever do that again. I don't know, that was a lot. A significant amount of stores sold food. You just left a bakery and should be eating with the rest of your family pretty soon, so you decided against all of those. Oh my god, hold on. All this talking, oh my gosh, what a trooper, thanks. That was a long stream though. You also realized something was missing. There had been a music store before, and now the spot was filled with a perfume and candle store. Beyond that, there were tons of chain stores with very standard types of products. Makeup, art, perfume, clothes, accessories, camping. You know what? Those three are good with me. I don't care. I'm not here for anything. Cool. Sorry. Cool. Cool. Derek nodded his head formally, but paired it with a cheery grin. You've got a plan. Let's check out the game store. Derek calmly strode into the local game shop with his younger brothers flanking his sides. The other three glanced around eagerly, then split off in different directions around the single room. You followed Derek towards the... Okay, I have to make sure the mic was on. Towards the right wall with Jorge and Nicholas went to the back corners. He bounced up and down on the pads of feet like a kid in a candy store. We should totally get something. Sure, what console do you have? None. Not right now, at least. Okay, guy. A conspiratorial gleam shone in his shifting green eyes. While watching his back, Derek inclined his face closer to you, put a hand on the side of his face, and shared his real plan with you. I'm gonna convince Nico to let us borrow his Switch. I know he got one last year just for himself, but what I don't know is all the games he owns. That's no longer a problem now. We can pick out whatever we want here. Something that we could play together. Oh, we'll need an extra controller too. Well, not really. Not with the Switch. You have two built-in controllers. He chattered along with poorly restrained excitement, smiling sweetly at you as you did. Derek could have gotten a digital download of the game instead, but there was no need to spoil the fun of picking it out in a real store. Let's find a party game. Yeah, it's in a party game. Party games are fun. Multiplayer sim game here. There's no such thing as a multiplayer sim game. Not yet, anyway. Let's get a party game. Alright. The two of you worked as a team to scour through the library of Switch games for the right genre with multiplayer compatibility. We were just talking about Mario Party earlier. A few contenders appeared, and you had a mini-group huddled to come to a final decision. Derek held the case high like the prize it was and marched towards the register. You plucked a refurbished controller off the wall and followed after him. Mario Party 86. Is there Mario Party 86? I have Mario Party 8, I think. I think I have Mario Party 8. It's either 8 or 10. Derek clapped the case against the counter with as much gumption as someone playing a winning hand in cards. He chuckled at his own dramatics when he had to awkwardly slide the controller he'd forgotten alongside the game. Thanks, Kingsley. No problem. Our multiplayer excursion would have been pretty short without it. Nicholas couldn't go too long without checking in on his big brother's activity. What? Do you think we got Mario Party 86? I feel like we got, like, a Disney Channel party game. We got, what's that Nintendo? Not Nintendo. What's that, Nickelodeon? What's that Nickelodeon party game? It's not a party game. It's a fighting game. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember. You were joking? Okay, listen. I cannot tell if you're joking or not. I will take you completely seriously. Nicholas couldn't go too long with... If I don't know something, I will take it completely seriously. Long without checking in on his big brother's activity. He spotted the two of you at the register. Seeing it was a game for the Switch, he nodded happily. The team was blissfully unaware of Derek's true intentions with buying that controller. Derek played it cool and paid for the game and controller. He didn't even look at his little brother until the deal was done. He secured the bag. Then Derek flipped around confidently. Did he say mission accomplished? Eventually we'll get there. Oh, so Mario Party 86. I was thinking, like, I don't know, maybe I had like 86 party games. Maybe that was it. Just 86. Let's hit the next stop. Oh my god. Everyone to the bookstore. The four of you filled into a large bookstore and began to drift around. It was one of those most spacious shops in the mall. Jorge went down the first aisle of books and you walked with him. He was focused enough that he had to be searching for something, but there was no way to tell what was on his mind. What are you in the mood for? How have you been doing? Are things going well at school? What's your major? I don't think I've mentioned it. So, have you been seeing anyone starting college? I'm not going to ask that. I do want to know what his major is. Physics. Physics, okay. I didn't even need to ask, huh? You're a smart cookie. Jorge's calm just dissolved in a flash, and the color of his face. He had to sever eye contact with you. The book didn't hold Nico's or Derek's attention as long as Jorge's. Well, he remained in one section and considered each title on the shelf. His brother skipped along from row to row after giving only cursory glances to the specifics. A smart what? A smart cookie! With a bit of a distance between himself and his family, Jorge took the opportunity to have a more private conversation with you personally. His quiet voice and being walled in by books make you feel as if you were in a library rather than a mall. I'm glad you're back, Kingsley. Aww. That's so sweet. That floored you. Not that you found it unbelievable, but you'd expected that to be a forever unspoken affection. Jorge admitting it so directly was massive for you. It's good to be back. I couldn't stay away. There's no way I wouldn't come to see you sooner or later. I'm happy to be here. I got to come see you. My little babies. He simply returned to shopping as happily as he could. You felt much lighter than yourself. Jorge ended up finding a newly released thriller that sounded interesting. I still have not finished the books that I made Gil buy me. They're still there. One is here, I think, and the other one is on my nightstand at my house. I don't know why, I just haven't. I should take up reading again. So that way I'm not stuttering over words like I usually am. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Jorge ended up finding a newly released thriller, purchased it, and went to find his siblings. Nicholas and Derek had holed up in the graphic novel and manga aisle. They looked up as you and Jorge approached. They grinned after seeing the bag under Jorge's arm. I'm finished. Thanks for coming with me. What now? Skater shop. Your group crowded into Nicholas's choice of store. Aggressive rock music played with the graphic tee covered walls. My kind of store. He's in a Zoomies. Not unless you read aloud. I mean, I definitely have been lacking. I feel like I'm not as smart as I used to be. My brain just doesn't do what it needs to do. And I feel like that's a combination of things. And so I need to start reading more, challenging things, and doing other things that'll stimulate my brain activity. And so I should definitely do that. Like that puzzle I mentioned earlier, that paint by numbers puzzle. I don't think you were there for that. It's not a puzzle. I keep calling it a puzzle. It's a paint by... It's not even a paint by, but it's like a paint by numbers thing. It's a dot by numbers little like project artwork. And I've been doing that. It's been stressing me the fuck out. It was small and cramped, but yeah, you weren't there. I don't think you were there for that part when I was talking about that earlier in the stream. Making it impossible for 4 people to navigate between the displays together. Derek and Jorge were filtered through narrow spaces on one side of the shop, and you and Nicholas were on the other. Where's the hot topic? The claustrophobic atmosphere didn't faze Nico. He lackadaisically surveyed the scene, stopping only when he came across a shelf of slip-on shoes. Ooh, I love me a good slip-on shoe. Nicholas lifted a checkered shoe off the rack and weighed it in his hands. I need to go check. Look who didn't tell me that they came home. Okay, I gotta go. So I'm gonna save. I'm gonna save this here. Oh, no, not there. Where was I? Are we here? August, September 23rd. I don't remember. I don't remember what I was doing with this one. I don't remember which one I was saving at. That's moment select Derek. Okay. This is step 2 as well, and this is step 3. I think this one was for... These were for either one. These were for... I'm just gonna save here. I don't know, actually. You didn't predict Derek anything. I honestly don't remember where I saved last time. I'm just gonna save here. slot 4. Okay. So I need to go. But thank you all for joining me for stream. I appreciate it. Hold on. Yeah. I will be back Friday, the 11. I'm hoping 11, and we'll be playing Animal Crossing. We'll also be playing Animal Crossing New Murder along with our regular Animal Crossing. So hopefully I get that fucking fish. That's gonna be an Animal Crossing heavy day. And if I want to, we might finish streaming this. I don't know how far we'll get, but I will do my best. Okay. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for joining me. I am not rating. You might never get that fish. Well, I mean, I got the Rancho goldfish, and I didn't think I was ever gonna get it. So here we are. But thank you guys so much for joining me for stream. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. Okay, welcome in, Axe. Sorry, I'm leaving. I'm not rating, but thank you for joining. Thank you for resubbing as well. Okay, now we're gonna go. I hope you have a nice rest of your day, week, month, year, and life. And I hope to see you in the next stream. I'm sorry you just got off work. So did Gil, and he was supposed to message me